Randy are suing teacher Raylan Godfrey and her son, 14-year-old Joel. Randy says that during class, Joel lit his hair on fire.
Order. All rise. This is case number 216 on the calendar, the matter of England versus Godfrey. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Miss England, this is your son?
Yes, ma'am.
You are suing this lady, Miss Godfrey, because of something her son did to your son. Is
Yes,
that right? You weren't present.
No, ma'am.
Only your son was there.
Yes, ma'am.
And the defendant's son was there. Randy, you were sitting in school. You're in the same class as the defendant?
Yes.
And Joel decided to act like an idiot.
Yes.
And in the pursuance of that conduct, in order to make sure that he was a real idiot, he took a what?
Lighter.
Lighter. And he lit your
Hair.
hair on fire. Any question in your mind that your son was an idiot?
No.
A real idiot, right?
I would say he had an error in judgment, yes.
He was an idiot.
Yes, ma'am.
Fortunately, you were not injured.
Yes.
Is that right? Now, where did he light it? Show me.
He lit it right up here. Just about, it was about 2-inch flame.
And what'd you do, pat it out?
Yeah. No,
With your hand?
My friend Ricky patted it out.
Did you feel anything?
No.
Not at all.
No.
Did the flame hit your scalp or just got your hair?
Just touched my hair.
Turn around, let me see. And, oh, great. And it's all grown in now?
Mm-hmm.
How long did it take for your hair to grow back?
About 2 months.
Mm-hmm. Now, what happened to you, Joel, as a result of this incident?
I was expelled and I had to do community service.
Are you back in school now?
Yes,
When did you get back into school?
the beginning of this year.
Were you homeschooled the rest of the year?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what did you say to him when you realized what he did?
I didn't say anything
Why not?
because he ran out of the classroom before I got to say anything.
Were you a friend of his?
I was.
Have you ever said anything to him?
Mm-mm.
Did you ever apologize to him?
The probation officer, my counselor this year, and the cop, and everybody just told me not to say anything, just not talk.
I'm talking about the next day, before the police became involved.
I was kicked out of school.
What about
The next day?
That day I was kicked out of school.
Or were you?
Yeah.
Did the teacher witness what happened?
No.
So how'd the teacher find out about it?
I believe one of the students told him.
Now, Miss England, we all understand that he did a foolish, dumb, idiotic thing because he could have caused really serious damage to your son. But he didn't.
I understand.
Your son went to his next class. His hair grew back. So why do you think that this stupidity should result in a $5,000 judgment against his mother?
Because, Your Honor, I have done everything I can through the school district, and according to the school district, there's supposed to be zero tolerance, which means this isn't supposed to happen whatsoever. My son has absolutely no beef with this kid whatsoever. And
No, he was a fool.
yeah, he was. And
Yeah.
the thing was, is I went through all the procedures as far as the district goes in order to, you know, do the uniform complaint form, go through the principal so they could keep the boys at least separated, because there was no beef. And if he's going to do this to it, no, okay.
He didn't beat him up. I'll tell you, he was acting like a fool.
Yeah, he was.
He wasn't acting, you know, it's
So-
not as if they were angry with each other. You weren't angry with him, were you?
No.
No, ma'am.
They weren't angry with each other. You were doing the right thing to make sure that you wanted it to stay on his record so that
Right,
in the future, if something happened,
right.
they might look at him and say, well, you know, this kid's got a history with fire.
Right.
Whatever. He was already expelled from school, so the school district knew about it. My question to you, Miss England, is why are you suing his mother for $5,000?
Because I think she should be liable for, you know,
For
him
what?
acting like
No,
an
for what?
idiot.
No, for what? You sue because there is an injury.
I understand that.
Your son was not injured.
Right.
You sue because, in your case, you say emotional distress. Your son had no emotional distress. He just thought it was a stupid thing, put the fire out,
Well-
and went on with his business.
The way I look at it, Your Honor, is, number one, the school didn't do anything. Randy walked around school. I mean, I've got 6 different phone numbers and a 2-way radio. I can be reached 24/7. in my
They
life.
should have done something. They should have contacted you immediately, but that's not our fault. Why don't
No,
you sue
they
the school
didn't.
district?
I'm getting to that.
Yeah.
So anyway, Randy walked around school all day long with a big burn mark in his hair. That is embarrassing and humiliating.
He wasn't embarrassed or humiliated. Please stop it. He wasn't. He wasn't embarrassed and humiliated.
Okay, well then the way I look at it is when I went to the district and everything in order to file the complaint forms to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore, well, Ms. Godfrey is a teacher with the school district.
Yeah.
And the way I look at it is she should know the rules.
She knows the rules.
I don't think so.
Listen, he's not 5 years old. You send your child to school, you hope that they do the right thing. You can't anticipate
Well,
all
it kind
the
of
time.
upsets me a little bit that the kid was stoned at the time he did it.
He was not.
Well, how do
He
you know
was
that?
not.
I know it because here's the police
Absolutely
report.
was
Well, I'd
not.
take a-
It
I'd
does
like to
not
take a look
say
at the
that
police
at
report.
all.
And the police report is very, very detailed.
Sure, let me read it. Let me read it. All right, so let me read what the police report says, because you say that this report says that he was high on drugs. Were you high on drugs when this happened?
No, ma'am.
Had you smoked any dope?
No.
High on alcohol?
No.
You mean you just did it because you were a fool?
Yeah.
Did you burn somebody else that day? Their clothes?
Yeah, I singed my friend's sweater a little bit.
What'd you do that for?
No, because I was a fool.
What were you doing with a marijuana pipe?
I was going to give it to one of my friends.
That's not true. That's not true.
If they thought that I was doing any drugs, they would have drug tested me.
That's not true. I don't care what they thought. I asked you. Bought your friend a present to give him a marijuana pipe? Is that what you're telling me? Huh? Is that what you're telling me? Listen, if you said to me in front of your mother that you'd smoked a little marijuana that morning and you were feeling a little giddy and stupid, which is why you burned your friend's jacket, you burned his hair, I would say, well, at least there would have been a reason for you acting like such a moron. Do you understand? Other than the fact that you're just stupid.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Had you had a fight?
We had been arguing for 3 days because I didn't want to stay there. He was harboring a runaway 17-year-old girl.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 14-year-old Randy England says former classmate 14-year-old Joel Godfrey lit his hair on fire.
Unfortunately, Miss England, not every act should result in a lawsuit. Whether this young man continues to involve himself in pranks, which one day are going to escalate into something more serious, that's ultimately his responsibility, and at this time will be his mother's burden, because she is now on public notice
And that's what I needed.
that her son, either while under the influence of drugs, which is a substantial possibility, or while under the influence of just being an idiot, which also puts her on notice that he has this propensity, will be responsible if he hurts somebody else. You do understand that.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
got away this time as a freebie for your mother, but the next time it's not a freebie. The next time she may be held liable in some court for the amount of injuries that are caused if you don't comport yourself like a human being. Clear?
Yeah.
Oy, I don't carry much hope, but she's on notice.
Yes, ma'am. And
That-
that's what I needed.
You got it.
Thank you,
That's all.
ma'am.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
I was really embarrassed
Hopefully Randy will forgive me.
because I had to walk around school with a big patch on the back of my head.
I mean, I never meant to hurt him or anything.
I know it was a joke.
Sorry.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Combs versus Hood. Step forward, please.
Angela Combs is suing her ex-boyfriend, construction worker Marvin Hood, for the return of her belongings. Marvin is countersuing for an unpaid loan for bail. Marvin has a separate lawsuit against Angela's ex-husband, loader operator Warren Combs, for damages resulting from a false arrest.
Miss Combs, the defendant is your former boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
According to you, you were living with him on and off for a couple of years, and you were divorced from your husband.
Yes.
In any event, there came a time, according to you, that he had you thrown out of his house and kept some of your stuff and then disposed of it.
Yes.
Loaded it on a truck and threw it in the dumpster. You want the value of that property.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendant says that he kept your stuff where you stored it most of the time on his front lawn for about 6 months, and you let it sort of hang around your house for another few months and then just got disgusted, loaded it up on a truck and disposed of it. Is that right?
Well, not exactly. I was ordered by the county commissioner's office. They sent me a letter saying that I had to clean it up because it was just debris in the yard.
Okay. And then you are counterclaiming for some bail that you posted for the plaintiff well over a year ago when the two of you were arrested in an incident involving the ex-husband.
Right.
So that's what this case is about. Okay. When did he put you out of the house?
I left the day after Christmas, December 26th of last year.
Had you had a fight?
We had been arguing for 3 days because I didn't want to stay there. He was harboring a runaway 17-year-old girl. I told him I didn't approve of it. I have 2 children of my own that would come visit me, and I didn't want to be in any trouble because of that. Christmas Day, I went to visit my mother. I explained to her what was going on, and she told me the best thing for me to do would be to leave. So the day after Christmas, he called her, she came and got me, and I left.
Now, when you left, you had some property there.
Yes.
What property do you claim he still has of yours?
I have a list here of everything that was in the house that belonged to me.
Let me see it. Oh, goodness gracious me. Copper-plated picture frames, Brittany's room, blankets, homemade makeup, hair accessories. Why didn't you take your hair accessories and your makeup?
When I left the day after Christmas, December 26th, I was only allowed to grab a few things, which I grabbed a pair of jeans, a T-shirt, and I was trying to grab other things. That's when Mr. Hood told me I could come back and get the other things just to get out of the house.
Let him look over this list and see if he has any of these things in his house.
I've got 2 items that I know for a fact that I have, Your Honor. A microwave oven and a television.
Okay. Are those her items?
Yes, they are.
Okay. Where are the rest of these things?
Well, there's a lot of them. I'm not for sure what. They're still in the storage building where I told her that she could put them.
So there are still some things there.
Yes, ma'am.
So when can she come by to get those things?
Come by any time.
Now, what happened with the other things?
Okay, the other things, they were in the yard at my mom and dad's because the building that they were in, there wasn't enough room to put it all.
So what did you do with it, sir?
I threw it in the dump.
Okay. It's gone. That stuff is gone. This stuff you can get 5 days from today. All the stuff that's in the storage, TV and the microwave, 5 days from today. Make arrangements to pick it up from the storage shed. That's good. Now, let's get to your counterclaim. Let's talk about this bail. But for the fact that she sued you for this, would you ever have sued her for this bail?
Never.
Because you didn't expect to get that bail money back.
I done wrote it off.
You didn't expect to get it back because it wasn't a loan, right?
Right.
Perfect. So we just resolved your case.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now we're going to call Bert the next case, which is Hood versus Combs. So I'm going to close my eyes for a second, change parties. We have Marvin Hood over there. Warren Combs.
That you?
Here.
Now, Mr. Hood.
Yes.
We all know who this gentleman is. He is your former girlfriend's ex-husband.
Right.
Are you back together again?
Yes.
Oh. And you are suing him for having you falsely arrested. Had you arrested for you attempting to run him down or run him over with your truck?
Right.
He says you did, in fact, try to run him over, and that's why he pursued the case in the criminal system. What were you doing anywhere near him, Mr. Hood?
Angela had borrowed his truck, and she borrowed it. It was the day before we got arrested, and she was supposed to brought it back to him that night.
And she didn't?
And she did not. The next day, I had a funeral to go to. She didn't have no way to go up there and just drop it off because she didn't have no ride. So after I'd left the funeral, me and her, I followed her up to where he works to drop the truck off. She got out of the truck, got back, started to get, well, she got in my truck. He pulled in with another guy I was driving. He got out and he took a rock and threw it through my windows of my truck. And I went to take off, and he reached in, grabbed the steering wheel, and held onto the steering wheel. And I kind of spun around. He finally let go, and I left. He had hit me on the hand with a rock, cut my finger. Glass went everywhere, cut Angie. We was just leaving the rock quarry where he worked at, and police pulled us over and arrested me for criminal recklessness.
And what did they arrest her for?
They arrested her for stealing his truck. He had made another false allegation that she had stole the truck and even put me on the arrest report as a suspect. Well, a friend of mine went with her the day before to get the truck so she could drive my truck back. My daughter was with them when they went up there to get it. So the truck wasn't stolen. In fact, it was borrowed.
You want to tell me your version of these events, sir?
Well, they came to work the day before that and took my truck before I got off work. I got off work at 4:30.
Who did?
I know she was out there in his truck.
Okay, she did.
Yeah.
So you're saying she actually stole your truck?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
So when I found out where the truck went to, I went to his house. Told him to tell her to bring my truck back before 8 o'clock, because if I didn't bring it back before 8 o'clock, I was going to report it stolen. So he never did bring it back, and then about 10:30.
Just a minute, so you went to his house and spoke to him?
Yes, I did.
So you had a reasonable relationship with him, enough at least to say to him, civilly, tell her to bring back my truck.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Then when I got to the work, when they took it back to work, about 20 after 4 the next evening, when I got out of the truck, he acted like he was going underneath the seat to get something other. So I picked up a rock, and I folded it through the window, and then after I busted the passenger side window, he rolled up the driver's side window, and I busted out and went in after him.
So you busted both sides?
Yes, I did.
And then what happened?
Then he finally, I hit him a few times. He got the truck in gear and took off and tried to almost run in my buddy's truck. And then he backed out of the way, and he went around and came after me, trying to run me down.
Your former wife had, in fact, dropped off your truck. Is that right?
Yes.
So you had your truck back, right?
Yes.
Why did you throw the rocks through his truck?
Because he was reaching down underneath the seat, and I thought he was going to go for a gun or something.
Nah.
Okay.
Nah, I don't believe that at all.
Whatever.
Whatever. Whatever is right. You were just angry. You had no right to do that. You vandalized his property. He was returning your property. You wanted to take this up civilly. You could have taken it up civilly if she had, in fact, taken your property. What are you taking out on him for? He just gave her a ride. Well, I think you did the wrong thing. I really do. I think Mr. Hood has a right to be angry. Mr. Hood, all honesty, sir, I think that you got the short end of the stick here. I do. I think that you got in between these two people who are now back together again. And you got stuck with a whole bunch of aggravation, including cleaning up your mother's yard, storing her stuff, having to pay a lawyer $1,000, fixing your car windows, all because these two people don't know whether they want to be together or apart or whose property it is or anything else. So I believe that you got the short end of the stick and probably just said to your lawyer, forget it. I'll agree to not going near him for a year and the case will be over, right?
Exactly.
He's going to pay for that because I think that he was wrong. I think that he was wrong to pursue this case. I think that he was wrong to knock the windows out of your car, and I'm issuing you a judgment for $1,140. That's all.
Yes, case number 389 on the calendar in the matter of Taylor Jenkins versus Jenkins. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
All right, this is a pretty tangled web of family. You're Miss Jenkins.
No, I'm Miss Taylor.
Your first name is?
Sylvia.
You are?
Teresa.
How old are you, Teresa?
23.
And you?
42.
Teresa, you used to live with the defendant, is that right?
Yes.
She's your aunt.
Yes, she is.
And she's your sister.
Yes.
So your daughter lived with your sister for many years.
Yes.
How many years?
12.
No, 13.
13, because of neglect on your mother's part. Your aunt raised you, is that right?
Yes.
And there is another sister who has a daughter whose name is?
Chantel.
And you are Chantel's, or were Chantel's legal guardian.
Well, I am still her legal guardian until I go to court.
Okay. Technically, but she no longer lives with you.
Right.
According to your complaint, Chantel came to your house complaining about the treatment at your sister's house.
Yes.
You took her in.
Yes.
Your sister, the defendant, filed a complaint, according to you, that you had kidnapped this child.
Yes.
So your lawsuit is about that charge of kidnapping. And you say that your aunt kept some of your property after you left her home.
No.
In what? Shh, don't answer. In what year was that?
I left her home in 2000.
So 2 years ago.
Yes.
What took you so long?
Because she said she couldn't find the key, or the car was in the way, or there was always some excuse.
So what do you say your aunt has in the house?
Well, I have a list of the stuff, but...
Like what?
She has my awards, diplomas, trophies.
Okay.
Clothes.
Do you have any of that stuff?
No, I do not.
Where is it?
When Teresa was living with me, Teresa moved around 3 times. She done lived with her mother 3 times. She lived on...
Do you have any of her property?
I took her property to her. I took 3 big boxes and a suitcase.
Do you have any of her property?
No.
Did you dispose of any of her property?
No.
Okay. And that was as of 2 years ago?
No, I just took Teresa things.
2 years ago, she hadn't lived with you. She's 23 years old. She had plenty of time to come and get her stuff.
I just
All
took
right,
her
I'm not
things
interested in your
February
property.
of this year.
I'm interested in these charges.
Okay.
Now, did she file charges against you too for kidnapping, or just against your mother?
It was against the both of us.
Okay. Let me see the charges that she filed against you. How old is this young niece of yours?
14.
Where is she living now?
She's living in a foster home in Norwalk.
Okay. Tell me how Chantel came to be at your house.
Okay, she was calling from time to time, like we would call to the house to talk to her, and Mary would let her get on the phone and then tell her to tell us.
How did she come to your house?
She just came over. She said she went.
What date did she come over?
The 3rd.
Of what month?
Of October.
You didn't go pick her up?
No.
She came to your house after school?
No, it was during school hours.
Were you expecting her?
No.
You knew that your sister had guardianship of her?
Yes.
How long did she stay in your house?
Overnight.
Was that with her permission?
DCFS said let her stay.
Where does it say that she says you kidnapped this child?
On the back.
You mean you're talking about this one line where she says that you went to Chantel with school to pick up Chantel without my permission?
Yes, and when the police officers came to the house when she called them, that's what they told us.
That's kidnapping?
Pardon?
Were you arrested for kidnapping?
No.
So what are you here for?
My name was brought up in the claim, so...
Okay, fine. So your name was brought up in the claim. She also says on September 28th, Teresa was at her house making allegations that Maisha Jenkins gave her number to some guys who were in jail and stopped giving her number out. Who's Maisha?
Maisha is Chantel's sister.
What is that about?
Teresa had a phone in my house at one time when she was living with me, and Teresa just moved out this year. It's not 2001, it's 2002. She just moved out. And when she had a phone transferred to her mother, the number was changed.
So?
Teresa was calling my house saying that Maisha has gave her number out.
Does Chantel's sister live with you too?
Yes, she does.
So you have guardianship of both girls, and Maisha still lives with you?
Yes.
How old is Maisha?
Maisha just turned 19.
Well, she's an adult now. How long has she been living with you?
12, I guess, 12 years.
Okay, so let me hear more about this phone problem.
Okay, Teresa had called my house and she was cussing, saying that if Maisha don't stop calling her house, she's gonna call the D police on her. Okay.
What's that about?
No, I called over and I told her, could she tell Maisha to quit giving my number out? Because these people was making remarks to me, and my fiance had answered the phone, and he was getting upset. So I called Auntie Mary and was leaving a message telling her, can you tell Maisha not to give my number out anymore? If so, then I'm going to call the police. And she picked up the phone.
Just a minute. Giving your number out to whom?
To people in prison in Twin Towers Jail.
Were these people who were calling you?
Yes.
Were they were people that you knew?
No, they weren't.
Well, I don't know why else.
No, he called my phone number at my mother's house.
Yes.
And he asked for me and said what his name was. I asked him, who was he? Where did I know you from? And he said, this is Maisha's friend. I said, well, don't call my house no more. What are you calling me for? Well, Maisha said that you easy for me to hit when I get out. I hung up the phone. That evening when I got in, I called Auntie Mary and I told her to tell Maisha quit giving my number out. And then she started going off on me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Tell me what she said to you and what you said to her.
She said, "Dee, don't call my house no more. If you do, then I'm going to come over there and blow up the house." I said, whatever, Auntie Mary, and I hung up the phone.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Teresa Taylor and her mother, Sylvia Jenkins, claim Sylvia's sister, Mary Jenkins, filed false charges with police. Mary is accusing her sister and niece of doing the same thing.
I'm not getting involved in this. You have no lawsuit. Your complaint is you were falsely accused of kidnapping when you took your niece into your home. That's what it says. You were not arrested. You were not incarcerated. You were at most questioned by the authorities and said, what is she doing here? You suffered no damage as a result of your sister saying that you had her without permission.
I'm not suing her.
Who's suing her?
She's suing me.
I'm suing her. I'm wanting my property.
Excuse me, Judge,
I'm reading the complaint that the two of you
Okay, maybe
filed.
this might make it a little bit clearer. This paper right here will explain why that allegation came up. All right, see, I want to go into prison for a violation of a probation. Mary was aware that I was on parole when this incident happened with my niece. She called the police feeling that if she could say that I kidnapped the child, that they would have arrested me.
But
that was
nobody
Mary's
arrested you.
intention. But they didn't.
So?
I know, so I'm saying, why is she suing me?
Listen to me. You're the plaintiffs in this case. You signed it. Would you show these two ladies the complaint that they signed?
Just Judy.
Okay. Did you sign that?
Yes, it is my signature.
So that you signed it. That says you're a plaintiff. You're suing your sister for filing false charges against you. And your daughter is suing her for the same thing. And in addition, your daughter is suing her for property. Is that what that says?
For false charges. That's what she was countersuing us for false charges, not us. All I said is I want to get my property and the money that she owed me.
Because
I care less about the charges. She's the one got locked up for them charges, so I don't care.
False allegations.
It was not too false. You got locked up for it.
When we refused, she called the police and told them that we had kidnapped her daughter. These were false charges. And I have a complaint here that says that you are suing for harassment and damages due to false allegations. And return... No, you. I have a counterclaim by her for the same thing, for punitive damages due to false charges. So you're not suing her for false charges?
No.
Fine. Fine. And I've already resolved the issue of property, so now you have nothing that you're suing her for. Now, let's get to you. You have a counterclaim for what?
I have a counterclaim for false arrestment. On the 2nd of October is when Chantel left the school.
Okay.
On the 3rd of October, that's when Sylvia and Teresa took Chantel to Children's Service because the lady let her stay overnight at their house.
What are your false charges about?
My false charges is the fact that on October the 2nd is when the incident begun with Chantel, and I was at home October the 6th looking at TV, and I had got my doorbell ring. I asked who it was, and they said it was the police. So I opened the door, and they said, "Is there any problem going on here?" I said, "No, there's not." He said, "May I come in?" I said, "Yes." So I opened the door because there was no problem. He came in and he was telling me that they had got a call saying that I was harassing someone and that I had threatened to do bodily damage.
To whom?
At that time, he would not tell me. So he told me with some papers he needed me to sign outside. I went outside with him. When I went outside, one officer grabbed my left hand, the other one grabbed my right arm. And I did kind of resist, and then I felt them tight. I said, "Oh, wait up, you can just put the handcuffs on me because I have no reason to resist you." I said, "Why are you arresting me?" And they said that I was being arrested for a criminal threat.
Can I see the complaint, please?
This is everything. My release form is in there, too. So I was arrested on the 6th of October, and I stayed in there until the 8th when they took me to court. I missed that day of work. And when they released me, they just gave me the paper, a certificate of release.
I don't see the complaint.
On the front, it says criminal threat.
No, there is usually a complaint that forms the basis of an arrest.
Well, that's all that they gave
That
me.
says who the complainant is. Did you make a complaint against her?
I did.
For what?
Because she had called the house and she was threatening. And she kept calling back, and I kept telling her, "Don't call no more." And so I called the police.
When did she call you?
When did she call? She called on the 5th of October. That was a Saturday.
You answered the phone?
Yes. On the 5th of October, I had called her to tell Maisha to quit giving my number out.
So you called her first?
I called her first, yes. After that, she was like, "Don't call my house no more." I hung up the phone. I went to her mom. My teammate was cussing me out. Then she called right back like 10 minutes later, and she was like...
Now, when she called back 10 minutes later...
When she called back 10 minutes...
Pay attention. I'm asking the questions. Do you understand?
Okay.
So first you called her. And you told her that Maisha better not be giving your phone number out to any other of these prisoners. And you had whatever words you had with your aunt who raised you. Then she called you back 10 minutes later, and you answered the phone. And I want you to tell me what she said to you and what you said to her.
She said, B...
Look at me.
I'm looking at you. She said, B, don't call my house no more. If you do, then I'm going to come over there and blow up the house. I said, whatever, Auntie Mary, and I hung up the phone. And I went into my mother. She told me to block the number. I went to block the number, and I pushed talk on my phone. The phone, when I picked it up to get ready to dial the number, she was on the phone, and it said pay phone on there. So she called from a pay phone, and then she said, B, I'm on my way. I'm getting ready to come and blow up the house and the car with y'all in it. Her exact words, and I called the police right afterwards. Because the car started driving by, so I said, Mama, I don't know what Auntie Mary's trying to pull, but we need to call the police. My mother called the police, and she spoke with the supervisor, and she got arrested the next day.
Hear you.
Okay. October the 5th, Teresa called, messing on the phone. I went to 108 police station to make a report of the threats that she was making on the phone. Okay?
Well, what did she say to you?
Well, she mainly was making it directly to Maisha, saying if that B don't quit calling my house, I'm going to come over there and I'm going to kick her A. That's what she said. And I told her she wasn't coming over and create no problems at my house. So I went to the police station on 108th and Main.
Did you call the house and make these threats that you're going to blow up the house?
I'm too old to be playing kids' games.
You're absolutely right.
I'm too old to be playing kids.
You're absolutely right.
I raised 5
You're
kids.
absolutely right.
I don't have time for kids'
You're
games.
absolutely right.
So
I believe
why was
you.
you parked in the driveway when you called the police on me?
Listen, don't speak to her. I don't believe you.
You don't believe me? So why was she arrested?
She was arrested because that's what you said happened.
Oh, my
You said
God.
she-
Okay.
I don't believe you. I believe that maybe you lost your tempers with each other. But I don't believe that you had any fear that this lady who raised you, whose home you lived in for 13 years, was going to come over to your house and blow up
Oh, my
your...
gosh, she pulled a gun on my mother in '96.
And it was on cops on Channel 11.
Their guns just recently got stolen.
She pulled a gun on me twice.
Just Judy,
My son was in the front yard.
If it was such of a problem where they don't want me bothering me, whatever, how come this mail I received in my mailbox today has December the 2nd? She's using my address to get her general relief checks. Why is this such a problem?
No.
I'm sorry.
How long have you been living outside of her home?
I've been living outside her home for a little while.
How long, I asked you?
I've been out of her house since 2000. She knew that I had
All
mail
right,
going
just
there
a
because she
second.
told me it was okay.
Just a second,
She
then
was
you
holding
tell
mail.
me, then explain this to me. This looks like, you want me to open this?
You can open it.
Oh, good. Got her
I
permission
know
to
it's
open it?
there. I've asked her
in
if she
my
can
house.
bring it to me. She knew my mail was going there.
Teresa, that's a serious sickness. You got a copy of it in my house.
She got everybody mail going to her house. That ain't nothing new.
Did you pick up your check
Yes,
from
I
General
did.
Relief in the month of October?
Yes, I did.
From your aunt's house?
No, I didn't.
From where?
I picked it up from the check cashing place.
Your case file is at her house. Your check is sent where?
To the check cashing place.
So what you're telling me is the notice to terminate
The
your
notice-
welfare benefits
Yes.
go to her house.
Yes, and I went down there to have everything transferred.
And
I've
that's
already
still coming
received
out.
one. That's already closed.
When was it closed?
I spoke to them yesterday at 3:30. It's already closed.
Listen.
You need to ask
Miss
her when
Jenkins-
is she gonna
Miss
start
Jenkins-
working.
Miss Jenkins, listen to me very carefully. Were you ever arrested for a gun possession charge?
Never. That was, okay, that was in 97. No,
But
no.
that's
listen.
every
no,
year is
No, you're not
97.
listening to me. That was in 97 when she came high to my house and I told her if she don't get out my house, I would shoot her.
Listen to
That's
me.
just to get her out my house. But
Listen
I
to
do
me.
not own a gun.
Listen,
You can check you on
listen to me
C5.
very, very carefully.
Okay,
Quick.
fine.
In this very short period of time that I have, I was able to very easily dispose of their claim or non-claim or whatever they thought they were going to find.
Yes.
I don't believe that your niece or your sister felt threatened by these phone conversations that you had
When her
with her.
son
I'm
and
so-
bounty
I'm
hunters come into my house, how you think I don't feel threatened? And I'm on parole, how do you think I feel? What am I supposed to do? I did what I was supposed to do.
I don't believe that they felt threatened by you.
That's all right.
I don't believe so. I don't believe that what they filed was false, because I believe that you probably said some nasty things, and your niece said some nasty things to you when you were on the phone. Would that be a fair statement?
No.
That you both said nasty things to each other. Would that be a fair statement?
Not really, because we don't speak.
No, I don't. Listen to me.
We don't speak.
Listen to me. You were speaking on the phone.
No.
You just told me you were speaking on the phone with her. She
Listen,
called
she
you.
Called one time.
Please, I can't
Judy.
deal with you. If you're not going to give me an honest answer, then I can't deal with you. No, you're not.
Give you honest. Only
No, you're
one
not.
time. I have it on tape when she called my house, okay?
Listen,
and that's the only time I spoke to her.
So you did speak to her.
And told her not to call anymore harassing. That's it.
You're trying to anticipate what I'm saying to you, madam. And you're trying to anticipate what's going to be best for your case. And I suggest to you that that's the wrong response to give to me. Because what I was going to say to you was, I believe that you each said things to each other that were nasty. However, I was going to say to you, even having said that, I don't believe that either one of these two people felt threatened. So I was going to award you on your counterclaim something to demonstrate that I believed in your claim. However, since you persisted and lied to me, you get nothing. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Now, this is case number 70 on the calendar in the matter of Hunold versus Hunold. You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Mr. Hunold, the defendant is your sister, and your mother passed away, according to your complaint, in April of this year. And it is your claim that your sister appropriated money, actually stole money, that your mother had intended for you in her will.
Right.
Your sister says that she was merely following your mother's instructions.
Correct.
What money do you believe you are entitled to, Mr. Hunold, under your mother's will?
I have a will here showing the bank account that was willed to me.
All right, let me see it, please. And what you're talking about, Dwayne will receive the amounts which are in my savings accounts located at Laurelhurst Federal Saving, Union in Portland, and Security State Bank in Montana.
Polson, Montana.
So those three accounts,
There's actually
whatever
two.
the savings were in those three accounts,
Right.
your mother had bequeathed to you.
Correct.
You acknowledge that.
Those two, yes.
Which two?
The
I have-
Laurelhurst Federal Credit Union and then the Ronan or the Polson State Bank.
So there were only two accounts?
Yes.
Is that right?
Correct.
The one that he's suing me for is not part of those two.
Is that right?
In a way it is, and I have some paperwork here to show
Okay,
that.
just one second. Was there any money, sir, when your mother passed away in the Laurel Federal Credit?
Yes, there was.
How much money?
There was $2,008.
And what about the union?
That one I understand there's $700 in there, but I have to contact an attorney about that and get proper papers to receive it.
This other account is in what bank?
It's in the internet bank. It's a PayPal account.
And that's the account that's contested?
Yes.
Correct.
You believe, sir, that the money in that account should be yours?
Right.
That money was spent by your sister. Is that right, Ms. Hunold? That money was spent by you, you claim, at the direction of your mother.
It is to be, yes. Yes.
To pay for your grandmother's funeral and
Yes.
certain other expenses.
Correct.
How much money is or was in that account?
$2,300 and some change. It's $2,382.
Okay.
I have the paperwork here if you want to.
Yeah, could I see the paper? Whose name was on this account?
My mother's.
Only your mother's?
Yes.
Okay.
Before she passed away, she told me to get the money out so that I could pay the funeral bills. And because I had made 2 previous trips to Montana and one up to Seattle for my grandmother, she said I could have the remaining balance of that to help compensate for the trips.
Okay. Now, why, Mr. Hunold, do you believe you are entitled to that money?
Because the money was being transferred to the bank account that was willed to me. I have papers here showing that how much money was paid into the account.
Paid into which account?
Into the Laurelhurst account, which was willed to me.
How much money was paid into the Laurelhurst account?
It was paid through PayPal, and she had to figure out a way to download it into the Laurelhurst account from PayPal.
Yes.
That's where she was going to put the money.
She was going to.
Yes.
But she did not.
She didn't have time because she died before she could.
So your mother had not put the money in the Laurelhurst account.
She had put $2,000 of it in the account.
And that's the $2,000 that's in here?
Yes.
$2,008?
Correct.
Okay. Are you the only two biological children of your mother?
No.
How many children are there?
9.
Did each of the children receive anything close to this $2,000?
No. If you look at the will, I was the only one that was given the bank account, and I feel that what she's doing is she told me she was in financial trouble and she needed the money.
Just a minute. Don't get ahead of you. You mean your sister told you that?
Yes, correct.
Why do you think your mother had bequeathed you the only monetary asset in her estate?
I believe that was her wish. She knew that there were some certain situations going on where a couple of the other family members didn't deserve the money part of it.
And what about your sister? What did she receive?
She received a frying pan.
Yes.
Before all this started, before this all started happening, the rest of the family, my mom had sent me an email stating she had 3 daughters and 2 sons. The rest had died because, including him, did not contact her, never sent her emails. The emails are cheap. They never called her, nothing. And so she sent me an email stating that she only has 3 daughters. One was my sister Tammy, one was me, and one was my sister Tony. And the 2 sons were my brother Anthony and my brother Daryl. The rest she figured had died.
Do you have anything in writing from your mother directing you to pay for your grandmother's funeral expenses?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? What is this piece of paper? How did you receive it?
That's her email to me.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Not only that, but ma'am, Your Honor, she also made me power of attorney so that I could get the money out and pay the bill that she had.
Did you, in fact, pay for your grandmother's funeral?
Not yet. I have not. They are suing me also because I have saved the money until this goes to court.
How much is the funeral bill?
$1,792.
And it is your intention from the $2,382 that is left in that account to pay for $1,700 and some odd dollars for your grandmother's funeral?
Yes.
Mr. Hunnell, your problem is, sir, your mother was very clear in her will that you were to be the beneficiary on 2 bank accounts, on 2 savings accounts.
Right.
So I want you to follow this. Let us say there was $10 in each of those accounts at the time of your mother's death. That would be what you were entitled to, sir.
Right.
What your mother did with her money prior to her death, especially since she signed a power of attorney for your sister.
That power of attorney was not supposed to be signed. They would not even notarize it the first day that it was given to my mother.
No, but...
Just a second.
When we got there...
But it is notarized now, sir.
It is, but if you look at that power of attorney and you look at my medical power of attorney, the signatures are not the same. My mother was so sedated, she didn't know what she was signing or what she was doing.
This power of attorney was dated April the 9th.
Right.
Your mother died April 12th, according to your papers.
Correct.
Is that right?
Correct.
Now, if you believed that on the 9th of April, when this power of attorney was signed, that your mother was incompetent to execute a power of attorney, you should have taken your little legs and gone to this surrogate's court or the probate court and moved to stop any creation of a power of attorney, or at least intervened.
At that time, I wasn't thinking about things like that. I was thinking about my mother. That was what was important to me.
That's fine, sir. Then that's what you were doing at that time. But then you cannot come into a court later and say, I do not believe that my mother was competent at the time to execute the power of attorney, giving my sister the right to use that money for anything else, including herself. Can't do that. The will is clear. I will not go behind the will. Your mother made certain, I mean, you say your mother left your sister in the will a frying pan, correct?
Yes. And she was caught trying to close bank accounts that were jointly held with my mom and her husband.
Well, that's a possibility.
I have papers here showing that my sister forwarded that money to me because she knew that's where it was supposed to go.
So?
And then I have papers showing that she took it back from me before I returned home.
So?
I don't believe that she deserves the money. As far as I know, Grandma's funeral was paid for. Grandma died a month before my mother did.
Well, show me proof that the funeral is paid for.
I don't have proof of my grandmother's funeral. I have proof that we went down the next day after my mother died and paid for her funeral in full.
Paid for your mother's?
Yes.
Out of what money?
Money that was found in the home when she died.
That's what I would like to comment about.
Step up. Who are you?
I'm Tammy. I'm the middle child, and this is my brother and sister. That money that they found was in articles that were willed to me. I believe my mother had put that money in there and intended it for me. They went through my mother's things before she died. They pulled out this money, and the first amount we heard was like $2,200, and then it went down to exactly $1,944. They are now trying to, make me and my sister look bad. It's not, there's a lot more is involved in this than is necessary to say in this case.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
you didn't pay her any money. The state paid her money. Do you understand? Not your money. It's Bird's money. It's my money.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dwayne Hunnold says his sister, Loretta Hunnold, stole money from their late mother's estate. Dwayne says that money was meant for him.
The one thing that usually a parent would hate to see happen when they die is that their death precipitates bad feeling over money and property and tangible things amongst their children. No parent wants to envision that, so you have to be smart and create a document, a will, that is clear and unequivocal. But folks, you're not talking about a lot of money. Ms. Hunnold, I am authorizing your brother to contact the funeral parlor and the funeral home where your grandmother was buried.
Okay.
And I will prepare an order, which you will have consented to, that you are fully responsible financially and you have the money for your grandmother's funeral. That will be part of the order that I will create. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
So that at least if what you're telling me is that you intend to pay for the funeral with that money, that will be accomplished. Then we're only talking about a difference of $600.
Right.
So, Mr. Hunnold, I suggest that you try to heed the words that I said to you. Your mother would not be pleased if she knew that her death caused this kind of estrangement. And it shouldn't cause this kind of estrangement because you're not talking about life-altering bucks.
No, we're not.
Okay. So your case is dismissed, sir. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My sister has to live with what she's done. She knows what she did was wrong. Now she has to live with it.
He has no right suing me, and he sued me for more than what it was. He's greedy.
I've got to live with this knowing that my mom has died, my dad's gone, my grandma's gone, and now we just need to get from there, and I don't ever plan to see or look at her again.
All he wants is the money, too. My mom knew that. That's why she went ahead and gave him the money in the bank accounts.
She has to live with herself. We don't have to live with ourselves. We come in with a clear conscience. We leave with a clear conscience.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of McCoy versus Osby, step forward, please.
Child care provider Francine McCoy is suing her sister, homemaker Mary Osby, and her husband Matthew for the return of prepaid rent. The Osbys are countersuing for back rent.
Miss McCoy, the defendant is your sister, and I assume you're the brother-in-law?
No, I'm the husband.
The brother-in-law.
Oh, okay, the brother-in-law.
You got 3 women here. You're supposed to say right. This is your wife,
Yes.
and you're her brother-in-law.
Oh, okay.
You rented a house from your sister and brother-in-law, guest house.
Yes.
It is your claim that at some point you came into some money and you prepaid rent for
Correct.
a period of time. Then there was a fight between one of the children, and your sister and brother-in-law told you to leave. So this lawsuit seeks the return of your prepaid rent for a couple of months.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yes.
Your sister says that you actually didn't prepay any rent. You gave her money in a lump sum, $1,000, but that was to go towards back rent that you owed for the year before. And you actually left owing them money for rent, and she has a counterclaim. Is that what this case is about?
Yes.
How much were you supposed to pay your sister in rent each month?
I was paying her $200 a month.
You were paying $200 a month?
No, the general assistance in my county was paying her.
Is that right?
No.
What was your agreement?
The agreement was to pay $300 a month, and that included all utilities.
And some of that money you got from assistance?
Yes.
How much did you get from assistance?
$192 a month.
So $200 a month, which means that she was to give you $100 a month for utilities and et cetera. Is that right?
No.
Did you have a lease?
No.
Did you give your sister any money?
Yes, I did.
How much money did you give your sister?
I gave my sister $1,500 January. $500 was for the child care that she helped me with because I had surgery.
Okay, so $500 is for child care and $1,000.
The $1,000 was for the rent.
I thought you didn't have to pay her any rent.
I paid rent because GA, when I got the lump sum, they was discontinuing their services as paying rent for me. So I knew that they was going to cut me off. So I gave her this money to pay for my rent in advance.
Did you get rent receipts from your sister?
Yes, I do have a rent receipt stating that I paid her.
Okay, let me see your rent receipts and let me see what you have.
I also have rent papers from the Department of Human Services showing where they paid the $192 for me until this time. And at the time that I gave her the $1,500, it's on this receipt right here.
It wasn't $1,500. You gave her $1,000 towards rent, according to you. When did you give her the $1,000 towards rent?
January.
And what months was that supposed to cover?
From March all the way until June.
Had you paid her in January and February?
The assistant program that was handling my rent paid for January and February.
Is that right?
No.
I have for January and February, they gave me $192 a month from general assistance, and that's it. And then when Francine gave me the money, she should have a note there from me, I believe dated in March, saying that she gave me $1,000 and was for back rent.
To whom it may concern, Francine McCoy gave me $1,500 that was due for helping me do some child care and back rent that was due.
Yeah, but I never owed her back rent. The GA
But that's what
paid
this
that.
says.
I know, that's what she wrote that out herself. I didn't sign my name to that note.
Listen, I'm never going to figure this out because none of you have rent receipts, so just listen to me very carefully because I'm going to handle this very swiftly. You didn't pay her any money. The state paid her money. So I'm not giving you any money. If the state wants the money back from her, they'll come and get it from her. Do you understand? It's not your money. It's Bird's money. It's my money. Right? You had no out-of-pocket expenses. You got a big check from them. They said, here's a big check. You say you gave it to her. She says it was for back rent. You say it was not for back rent. It was for prorated rent. In any event, it wasn't your money. It's the state's money, so you're not entitled to it. If the state wants to go against the provider who was prepaid rent, they'll do it. But it has nothing to do with you, because it's not your money.
The state had cut me off at that time, Your Honor.
The state paid it. You said you did not pay her. She got $192 from the state.
Okay, yeah, but when I got the job, it's when I got the money to pay her. That money came from the job that I did for my daughter for child care. That's how she got the $1,000. That money, the $1,000 that she got didn't come from no state. That came from me.
Oh,
I worked for that.
Good. Now we have this question. So, if she's getting money from the state, and you say you had no agreement with her for rent other than that, what were you giving her $1,000 for?
Because they cut it off. The state cut it off. So I have to have a place to stay. I haven't been working. And when I did the child care, they paid me $3,000. That's how she ended up with the $1,000 for rent, because they stopped paying my rent. So I had to pay my own rent. That's how she got the $1,000.
You don't have rent receipts. Do you have rent receipts?
No.
Nobody has rent receipts. I can't help either. I can't help you. And I can't help you, Miss Osby, either. Can't help you. You say she owes you for back rent?
Yeah, because the $1,000 would have been, that would have, well, it don't matter.
It doesn't matter, because if you have a landlord and tenant relationship, which you have, what you do is you get rent receipts every month. Then you have a receipt and you have a receipt. You can't expect to come to a court with this convoluted arrangement that you have and expect me to figure it out. Do you understand?
I do.
Good. Goodbye.
Yes, this is case number 23 on the calendar in the matter of Owens versus Rignalda Lester. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, seats.
Mr. Owens, according to what I read in your complaint, you leased a property to the defendants for 1 year.
Yes, ma'am.
They moved in when?
I believe it was the 11th of September.
Of 2002?
Yes, ma'am.
And then a couple of months later, they notified you that they were moving out.
Yes, ma'am.
And according to what you told me in your complaint, you weren't so upset that they were leaving and breaking their lease. You were upset because they owed you for at least a month's rent. They trashed the premises and they owe you for some utilities.
Yes, ma'am.
The defendants claim that you're a thief and a snoop, and that's why they left, and that you stole things out of the apartment and you were constantly invading their privacy. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Right. What was the rent on the apartment, sir?
$600 a month.
What kind of property is it?
It's a normal residential home.
It's a home, not
yes,
an
ma'am.
apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
How large a home?
It's got an upstairs, downstairs, two-bedroom downstairs, full upstairs. You know, the whole thing is paneled, carpeted.
Did you know the two defendants prior to entering into this lease?
I've known them since they've been in diapers.
Really?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a reasonable period of time. How did you know them?
Her father, when he was in the Navy.
Whose father?
Tiffany and Kim's.
Who's Tiffany?
When he was in the Navy, he worked for me with the government.
And how are you two related?
We're sisters.
Same mother and father?
No, different dad.
So it's just your father that you
Right.
worked with. Did they pay their rent on time?
Yes, ma'am. Kim wasn't there prior to September 11th. Tiffany had been living in the house with her husband, Frankie, since the first part of January of 2002. That's when I originally remodeled the house. They moved in.
You mean Tiffany, that's you?
Yes, right.
Moved in with her husband?
Right.
And the two of them were paying rent?
And another
Right.
roommate.
And another roommate?
Right.
Paying
They
the
had-
$600 a month?
Yes,
There was
ma'am.
4 of them.
Okay.
It was $600 a month, plus they paid the utilities. So Frankie's brother and his girlfriend lived upstairs. Tiffany and Frankie lived downstairs. They shared the same kitchen, bathrooms, and stuff
Fine.
like that.
But then they separated?
Yes, ma'am.
You moved out?
She had me move out.
Okay, you moved out, and your sister moved in.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was fine with you. Up until that time, however, in September, he had been paying rent, she had been paying rent, his brother's been paying rent, whatever, since January. So the rent was no problem.
Right.
Now, what happened in September? Did the rent continue to be paid on time?
Yes, ma'am.
Why were you moving out?
We were moving out for several reasons.
Look at me. Don't look at your hand. Look at me.
We
Let
were
me hear
moving
the
out
reason.
for several reasons.
I'm talking to her.
Okay.
You moved in later. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Talking to her. Why were you moving
We really
out?
had no reason. We weren't moving out for any one reason in particular. We were just looking for a new place to live. We wanted
Why
to
is
move.
that?
Because we had had a lot of problems in the house and there were a lot of issues, and I was ready to get on with my life.
Like what?
Issues of my ex.
I don't. Listen to me. I don't want you to coach her. I'm asking her a question. I'll get to you. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Give me the issues.
The issues were that I had lived a life there with my ex-husband, or, well, still current husband, and there were a lot of, things that I was just ready to move on with my life, and I didn't feel like I could move on being there, and I just wanted to start a new life fresh and get out. And they were also friends, and I didn't feel comfortable living there with him being my landlord, being friends with somebody who I'm trying to get away from.
You have children together?
Yes, ma'am.
How many children do you have?
1.
Now, I gather that your family, was friendly with Mr. Owens before you got married.
Yes, ma'am.
So the two of you were friends before you married your husband. Did you know him since he was a baby, too?
No, ma'am.
So you just met him?
Probably 7, 8 years.
Ago?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So why would you have a problem with him being friendly with your husband when you've known him all your life?
Because you can tell when he's taking his side.
Well, tell me how you could tell. Give me an example.
I can't think of any examples.
So you wanted to get on with your life. That's the reason that you were moving.
To move out of the house.
Because it had bad memories.
Right.
Bad karma.
Right.
How far away did you move?
About 10 miles.
Not so
About
far.
a mile from my house, closer to my house.
Closer to your house?
Yes, ma'am.
And what kind of place did you get there?
I have an apartment.
Who do you live there with?
The witness.
This guy?
Yes, ma'am.
This is the new guy?
Yes, ma'am.
And your child?
Yes, ma'am.
You do have custody of your child?
We have joint custody.
And how much is the rent on this new apartment?
$700.
And does the new boyfriend work?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and you don't live with your sister?
No, ma'am.
And who do you live with?
My husband.
And what kind of a place did you get?
I moved in with him when we got married, and he has an apartment.
When did you get married?
March 7th.
When did you meet him?
Back in the first part of January.
When did you become engaged?
In February.
When did you plan the wedding?
About the 3rd week of February.
And you got married in March?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you move in with him?
Right before we got married.
What month?
February.
Where did you live between November, when you moved out of the plaintiff's house, and February?
My sister and Duke.
Okay, so you stayed with them for a while.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
you have children?
I have 2.
So now you tell me why you moved out. You moved out in November?
From his residence, yes,
Yes. Did you pay November's rent?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
Because he came in the last week of October and took the stove and refrigerator out of the home that we were renting that belonged to my sister. My sister...
Just a minute. Did you do that?
I didn't take their stove and refrigerator. I took my stove and refrigerator, and that was in the first week of November after they were supposed to have moved out.
No.
Shh. Shh. Don't speak.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
It doesn't say that I owe him rent.
Madam, it was filled out October 23rd. At that time, you didn't owe him rent.
Right, I understand.
Do you understand that
Yeah,
you're
I
getting
understand
it?
that rent was
Are you
coming
getting
due.
it?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Denver Owen says former tenants Tiffany Ringnalda and her half-sister, Kim Lester, owe for rent, utility bills, and damage to his property. Tiffany and Kim say Denver is a thief.
Go ahead.
I have a document here, Your Honor, where I bought the, I have a bill of sale for that stove and refrigerator, which...
You're Frank.
Yes, ma'am.
You sold him the stove and the refrigerator.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Needed to pay some bills from Christmas.
Who bought the stove and refrigerator?
I did.
Were you married at the time?
Bought it just before we got married.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then he has the right to sell it, because he bought it. He didn't steal anything. When did you take out the stove and refrigerator?
I believe it was around the 9th or the 10th of February, and the reason why...
February?
I mean, excuse me, November. I'm sorry.
Okay.
They were supposed to have left the premises by the 7th of November because they had a lease to another place. So I got them to sign this agreement that they would fix things in the house. And the reason...
Just a minute. All right, Tiffany, you signed this agreement to clean up the mess, isn't that right?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Did you clean up the mess?
Yes, Your Honor.
You had the carpets cleaned?
Yes, I did.
By whom?
We rented a steam cleaner and stayed at the house after we had moved out, and we cleaned the carpets for hours.
Good. Did it all come out nice and clean?
No, ma'am, it didn't.
Well, then you're responsible. You made the mess. You agreed to take care of it.
Yeah, but I'm not the only one who had lived there. We had other roommates for a year who, when they left, didn't have to clean anything, and I didn't cause that whole mess by myself. And
well, then what you should have done was gotten some sort of security money from your other roommates. Why should he suffer for that? You agreed to take care of it, right?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And you didn't. I mean, your sister made up all kinds of baloney stories about Mr. Owens, about stealing your stove, stealing your refrigerator, right? Well, that's a lot of baloney.
It's not baloney.
Of course it's baloney, madam. Because when I asked Tiffany why she moved, she said she would move because the place had bad karma. And when I read your answer, which I assume you wrote, said he would come inside and snoop, and he stole things,
He did,
and he
Your
stole
Honor.
things.
He
Well,
did.
listen to me. Tiffany, if somebody is invading your privacy, stealing your property, the landlord of your premises, the first thing that you tell the court, or somebody who asks, is, I had to move because I was afraid of this person. They would come into my house unannounced, they snooped around, they stole things out of my house, and I had to move. I asked you why you moved, and you told me you moved because the place had bad karma and you wanted to move in with your new boyfriend in a new apartment. Your sister was getting married, she moved in with her new husband. And then all of a sudden we have these defenses of a thief and a snoop. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That's why the thief and the snoop story doesn't fly with me, because it's not the first thing that you said. The first thing that you said was, he took my husband's side, he liked him, he was his friend, I felt bad karma there and I had to leave. I used the word karma, you didn't. Bad feelings. I had to get on with my life, was I think the way you phrased it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you pay November's rent?
No, ma'am,
No.
I didn't.
And there's no excuse for you not paying November's rent.
There is an excuse, Your Honor.
Let's hear it.
Him and I had a verbal agreement after he came in and took my stove and refrigerator. I was left with no stove and refrigerator for over a week. I had no way to cook and no way to do things. I called him on the phone, and I was very upset. And he told me, look, I didn't mean to upset you. He said, I thought that when you moved, you were going to take it, because I didn't even know that he had sold it, the stove and refrigerator. I was still on the...
You mean you didn't know that your husband
had sold it to him. Nobody told me that it was sold. So him and I had the agreement that when I moved, he told me that how much he gave him for the stove, and he said, you'll be getting the equal amount, because I only owed 1 week's rent, which would have been like $250, $300, and he told me just to go.
You didn't pay November's rent. November 1st came and went, and you didn't pay the rent. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
November 2nd came and went, and you didn't pay the rent.
Well, then why did he give me a security deposit back, Your Honor?
November 5th came and went, and you didn't pay the rent.
Why would he give me money back if I owe him money? Would you like to look at this?
Absolutely. Well, let me tell you this, madam. I don't know if you read it. Do you read English?
Yes, ma'am.
This is dated October 23rd, and you asked, I assume, Mr. Owens to sign this for you, even though you were breaking a lease, for your new landlord, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it says that you moved in, you were moving out November 7th.
Yes, ma'am.
That you had paid your rent on time up until that point, which was true because that's October 23rd, 2002. You were paid in October, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. It says, do you owe any money? It says yes. Utilities. It says, any problems? They have to repair the storm door, the bedroom door, and clean the carpet, right?
It doesn't say anything about rent.
What do you mean it doesn't say anything about rent?
It doesn't say that I owe him rent.
Madam, it was filled out October 23rd. At that time, you didn't owe him rent. You didn't owe him rent till November 1st.
Right, I understand.
Do you understand?
Yeah, I understand that rent was coming due. Yes. Okay.
So when he filled this out, you didn't owe him rent. What you owed him for were utilities. He wouldn't know that, he said, until you moved out because they were in his name. And you have to have the door repaired and clean the carpeting. He signed it, and you signed it, which means you acknowledge owing him utilities, and you acknowledge that you agreed to have all of this done in the house. So thank you very much for giving this to me. I appreciate it. She says she cleaned the carpet. Did you change the carpet?
No, ma'am, Your Honor, when they came to clean the carpet, I was there. I was there fixing up the rest of the house that they had torn up. I spent $15,000 in that house to turn it into a house so they could live in it, including remodeling the kitchen, remodeling the living room, the bedrooms, and they completely trashed it. They came in with a rental cleaner. They didn't even pick up the trash out of the floor. They didn't vacuum. They came in with a thing, and
Mr.
she said she spent hours there.
Yeah.
They spent 30 minutes.
Right. She's a fibber.
Yes.
Yeah, the other one too. But she acknowledges that the stains on the carpet didn't come out, and it was a mess. Now, did you change the carpet, or
No,
did you
ma'am.
have it cleaned?
I had it cleaned.
Professionally?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you pay for that?
$140.
Okay, so let's get down to it. And then let's stop this torture. $140 plus $600 that they didn't pay for November, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because they should have been out November 1st. You weren't out November 1st. You don't pay rent by the week.
Plus utilities, Your Honor.
What were the utilities? Just tell me, sir.
I have it all totaled, Your Honor, at 19, 20, 19.
I want the figures for each of the utilities, sir. I have
Okay.
$740 with the carpet cleaning and rent.
All right, the gas was $95.61.
You have the bills to support those things?
Yes,
sir?
ma'am.
Good. So give me the figures. Let's go.
Okay, the water was $264.39.
$264 for how many months?
That was from 21 August to 18 November.
Go ahead.
The power bill was $231.99.
From what months?
And that was from 25 September until 26 November.
Well, just a minute, but they weren't there on the 26th.
They were using the house, not to live in, but they were still using the house when they moved out of there to come and do their laundry. And
until what time did they have?
Until I changed the locks.
What date?
It was November the 28th. I changed the locks on the doors. because they never cleaned the place. They left clothes there. They left.
Okay. Go ahead.
Okay, HRSD.
What's that?
That's sewage, and that is from 21 August until 22 October.
Your Honor, I wasn't even on the lease in August.
5132, Your
I
Honor.
didn't sign a lease until September.
Were you living there?
Yes, I was. But I lived there with other people.
$1,383.31.
And I also have the repair bills, Your Honor, for the damage they did to the property.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, to repair the Jacob's door and install a doorknob is $40.81.
And the storm door, sir?
Storm door was $118.56 for the door, and I charged them $88 to pull down the old one and reinstall the new one.
What do you mean you charged? What does that mean? You did it yourself?
Yes, ma'am.
Forget it.
My labor's not worth anything?
$1,535.68. Is your labor worth anything?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's what you're a landlord for, sir. Mr. Owens, I have sympathy for your position. Don't test my patience, sir. Do you understand?
I understand.
Good. Okay. That's what you said the problems were. You signed it? She signed it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you signed this and you acknowledged that these were the problems and this is what you owed him as of the 23rd of October, 2002, in order to get your new apartment. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Perfect. Makes my life so much easier. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,535.68. Goodbye.
This is case number 51 on the calendar in the matter of Lawyer versus White. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Miss Lawyer, the defendant is your current boyfriend's ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you and Chad have a child together.
Yes.
How old is the child?
She is 4. She'll be 5 on Halloween.
Where is Wonder Boy?
At home.
Why isn't he here?
Didn't
want to come.
Right.
It is your claim, Miss Lawyer, that the defendant keyed your car, causing extensive damage.
Yes.
It is your claim on your countersuit that the plaintiff keyed your car and in addition forced you to confess to keying her car.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So let's get to your claim first. Did you witness the defendant keying your car?
No, I did not.
So what proof do you have that she keyed your car?
I have an audio tape that she confessed on.
You have a tape of her confessing?
Right.
I'll hear it.
You will admit to me that you keyed my car, nothing will happen. I'm just going to have to go get this fixed myself. But I'm telling you, if you admit it, don't ever show your face to me again. You already admitted it. Don't ever show your face to me again. I'm going to put a hand on you. I'm going to press charges on you. Nothing. Just admit it because you've already admitted it once. Just say okay. Okay. Okay, what? I did it. Why? Because what? My car is keyed. And who did it? I don't know. Exactly. And you think it was me because I'm your baby's daddy's girlfriend. And I can take you on there right now to show you. My car is keyed. But did she do it? She's telling you she did not do it. Chad told me that you admitted to him on the phone that you did it because I did that to your car. I'll go over there and show you, Candy. And you doesn't prove that she does it. Exactly. She did. I did not do it. I vow on my grandmother's grave that I will never, ever key anybody's car. Okay, well, you was over here the other night, Candy. How many people live in these apartments? Did you see it when you actually walked out to the car, or did you see it the next day? I know when I come over here, my car was not keyed. And you was over here that night. That doesn't mean I did it. You was over here that night. Doesn't mean I did it. And what happened here that night? I was very off at Chad. Yes, you was. And me too, wasn't you? I hate your guts. I know you do. But I would not do that to your car. Well, my car was keyed. And I can take you over there right now and show you my car. I don't deny that your car is keyed. The point is, you didn't have proof that I did it, which I surely did not. And the fact is that my car is ugly now. And my car is too. I don't give a But when you go home, I want you to think about, no, leave that light on. When you go home, I want you to think about that you did to my car. When did you do it? Today. Where? I was at my house today. And he saw you do it? No, he didn't see me do it. What did he do at your house today? Today, he came over to my house. And y'all No, we don't. Then why was there a condom in the trash can? That was because somebody else was over there the other night. What did Chad go over there for today? Chad come over there today. Did you lure him over there so that I did not. My car? No. It was just the perfect opportunity for you to... Chad come over there today. For what? I didn't ask him to come over there. Okay. He come over there on his own. And it was the perfect opportunity for you to key my car. No. Chad came over there and Chad fell asleep. Okay? Oh, where, in your bed? Yes. He was asleep in my bed. And you know what? It'll be my pleasure to punch you in your mouth. But I'm not gonna lower myself to your standards. What was he doing at your house today? He came over there today because he wanted to come over there. And do what? He wanted to come over there. And he fell asleep and you went out to my car and you keyed it? I went out there and I got my CDs out of your car. Today? Yes. And he stole my CDs. And you stole my recording tape out of this recorder the other day, didn't you? Or not the other day, it was about a month ago. Yeah, I did. So should I charge you with theft also? If you want to. And I didn't want to. Don't ever come in my house and take anything ever again. I won't. Don't ever come to my house, period. Don't ever come and see. Don't even page Chad. If he wants to see Kayla, he can come and see her with me. With me. He will never go to your house ever again. He will never be in my car alone ever again. I can't trust him, just like I don't trust you. I trust my mother and my family. That's the only people I can trust. You are with Chad, okay? I'm trying to get along with you and Chad. I tried to get along. I fed your tonight. I fed your tonight, and you did that to me today. I know that. I hope you throw up. I wish I would have poisoned my food. I wish I would have, just so you would die. Roll over and die. That's how bad I hate you right now. I'm sure you do hate me. But you know what? I hate you too. Because you do things to my child. Oh, I've never touched her. You made my child sleep on the floor. On a pallet. Because you don't want her in the bed with her daddy. Oh, you think that's right for a 4-year-old little girl? Yes, it is. To sleep with her daddy that doesn't ever sleep with clothes on? Huh.
Does anything else on this tape have to do with the keying? Well, then turn it off. The first thing I'm going to tell you is, I would never allow your daughter to sleep over at the plaintiff's home again. Do you understand?
I haven't.
Because a child should not be exposed to the kind of hostility that the plaintiff feels towards you that will rub off on your daughter, and she's an innocent.
Yes, and she's had problems too because
you understand?
of it. Yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And they held a knife to me. I was terrified for my life.
She stole this tape out of the car because she didn't want Candy to have evidence.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Candy Loya is suing her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, Kimberly White, for keying her car.
Let's make this as painless as possible. Without getting into your counterclaim of how this confession was coerced, did you key her car? I'm going to give you an opportunity to just think about the answer before, because you don't want to fall into my mouth if you don't have to. Did you key her car?
No, Your Honor, I didn't.
You had lent him your car?
He dropped me off at work and I guess went to her house straight from dropping me off.
When did you see that the car was keyed?
He picked me up from work and I didn't notice it, but we stopped to pick up an application for him. And when he came back to the car, he acted surprised and said, "Oh my God, your car's been keyed." So I got out and looked and the entire car was keyed.
Now you had your car keyed.
Yes.
When?
Her and Chad had came over to my girlfriend's house where I was at, and they came upstairs. And Chad wanted to stay and visit me and Kayla, and Candy got mad. And she went downstairs and waited on him for a while. And he stayed up there. Well, she got mad, and she came back up there and got him and told him, Chad, you come on. You're not going to stay over here no more. Come on. And Chad said, okay, Kim, I don't want no problems here at your friend's house. I'm going to go ahead and go, and I'll see Kayla tomorrow. I said, okay. And they left. I stayed there a couple of hours with my friend. Then after that, I got ready to leave. When I got ready to leave, I went downstairs, and I had to walk in front of my car. I noticed the whole hood of my car was scratched.
And it hadn't been scratched when you left it there?
No, it hadn't.
So now I have 2 keyed cars and no witnesses.
Yeah, but what she was talking about at her friend's house, we didn't actually go over there. We were driving down the highway, and she was coming back from the dope house in Dallas. And my boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, and...
The ex-boyfriend is Chad?
Yeah.
So now he's an ex-boyfriend of yours, too?
Well, he's been an ex-boyfriend.
For a while.
Why?
Since when?
For 4 months.
Okay. Tell me about this confession that I just heard.
Okay, Candy and her sister came over. They knocked on the door. Candy was as nice as could be. The sister was hiding down the stairs. She said, Kim, can I talk to you? Well, we used to talk about Kayla, my daughter, so I thought maybe she wanted to talk about that. She didn't want her coming over no more or something. So I said, okay. Well, we went downstairs, and here pops out her sister. Well, so I stand there and I look at them, and I was like, what is it? And she said, well, can we talk? And it was cold. So I said, well, let's go down and get in my car. Well, once I got down there, I noticed I didn't have my keys. And she says, well, we can sit in my sister's car. It's warm. We just got here. So I said, okay. We got in the car. It was a 2-door sports car. I had got in the back seat. They got in the front seat. As soon as we got in the car, they locked the doors. The tape was not fully played, or something's been tampered with, because I was begging them to open the doors. Please let me out. I was scared for my life. Then you can hear them. They're hollering at me, telling me, you need to go on and say you did it. Well, before the tape was even played, they told me, you need to say you did it. You know that whenever Chad was over there that day, you got up and you went down there and you keyed my car. And they held a knife to me. I was terrified for my life. So then...
How did they hold... Who held a knife to you?
The sister had the knife, and Candy held me down in the back seat.
All I want to know is, just listen to my question. Was there a knife in your car?
No. No.
Do you feel, Miss Lawyer, that your presence and your sister's presence in the car locked was intimidating with or without a knife?
It was not locked, but no, I didn't have a knife, and I felt no reason to. And about...
I asked you whether you felt as if it was intimidating.
No.
Oh, no? The threats were being made by you two, not by her. Right?
Yeah. That's, well, there's a reason for that.
What's the reason?
She was high. She didn't know...
Then why did you take her in the car?
Because I wanted her to confess on tape that she did that to my car.
You can't do that. You can't do that. That's outrageous. You know what that is? Kidnapping.
Well, the doors weren't locked.
Kidnapping.
Yes, they was.
No, they weren't.
Whether they were locked or not, if it's a 2-door car and she was sitting in the back, she could not get out of the car unless one of you, either you or your sister, got out of the car first to let her out. So it doesn't make any difference whether the doors were locked or unlocked. She was a virtual prisoner in that car. That, Miss Lawyer, is called kidnapping. Do you understand?
Yes.
What?
Is it kidnapping when she says she will get in the car? I'm sorry.
Here we go.
She agreed to get in the car, and...
Yes, she agreed to get
how
in
is
the
that
car.
Kidnapping?
Tell me why she agreed to get into the car. Tell me what you said to her.
It was cold outside.
No, tell me what you said to her.
Do you want to go talk in the car so we can sit in the car because it's warm?
Fine. And what was your intention when you went over there?
To get her to confess on the videotape.
Did you tell her that?
She knew that.
Did you tell her that?
No, ma'am.
Do you believe that if you had told her that before she got into the car, she would have gotten into the car?
No, ma'am.
Of course not. So you lured her into the car.
Yes, ma'am.
Now sit down.
Could I say something about a confession?
Sure.
2 days after this happened, Kim paged Candy at work. So Candy called me, and I called her on three-way. And so I asked her, why did you key Candy's car? And I said, why did you key my car? Because the car's in my name. She said, I didn't know it was your car.
You have that conversation with her?
No.
Yes, you did.
I did page Candy because
What'd you page her for?
To talk to her about the car. Because she went over to my mother's house.
So what'd you call her for?
I just wanted to talk to her about it and tell
What
her.
did you want to tell
I
her?
wanted to tell her to stay away from my mother's house and don't go back over there with the tape. If you want to go to the police, go to the police. That's why I called her with that recorder and told my mother, if you will give me $1,700, I will not take this to the police. And my mother said, I will not do it.
Did you go over
She stole this tape out of the car because she didn't want Candy to have evidence.
I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Get real. Will you please?
I know that they're not living together anymore.
I don't care whether they're
because she
living
is at
together
home.
or not. That doesn't mean they're not sleeping together if they're not living together, right? Play in the mud, you get dirty. Understand?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Candy Loya claims her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, Kimberly White, keyed her car. Kimberly is countersuing for mental anguish.
So Chad is no longer in your life, is that right? Perfect.
I just talked to Chad the other day. He told me they're still together.
Well, friends. They are not living together. Well, not friends, but
they're more than
acquaintances.
friends. And since all that's happened, I've had to take my daughter to counseling. I've had to see a psychiatrist.
You have a drug problem?
letter. No, I don't.
Did you?
No, I did not.
You work?
No, I'm not working right now.
Why not?
Because I'm seeing a psychiatrist. I cannot work. They terrified me. I'm scared to go out of my house. I have a letter here from my doctor.
Let me see the letter from your doctor.
Well, it's kind of funny that I picked her up on Christmas Day, and I picked her.
Just a second. To go
That
where?
is not true. She hasn't
Go
took
where?
me to see Chad.
To go
Not you,
quiet.
Kayla.
We had the agreement. Candy would come pick Kayla up so Chad could see Kayla, and Candy would bring her back.
Does your doctor have you on any medication?
Yes, he does.
What kind of medication?
I am taking Selexia, and I take a sleeping pill because I cannot sleep because I'm always terrified thinking that they're over there watching me at my house or something.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm not satisfied that this confession that I've heard on that tape was taken under the circumstances that it is reliable. You had somebody who was coerced into a car, who was threatened, held in the car against her will, and I am not accepting that confession as proof that she keyed your car, so your complaint is dismissed. With regard to your car being keyed, that's dismissed. You have no proof. Miss Lawyer, I'm not giving you a dime for your damages to your car. If what you and your mother tell me is true and accurate, that this person still is part of your life, you deserve whatever you get. You deserve whatever comes to you. You will be in for nothing but heartache, and you're a young woman, but that's entirely up to you. You know, you play in the mud, you get dirty. You understand? Do you understand? Okay. So when you say to me they're just friends, no, they're just acquaintances,
Well,
get real. Will you please?
I know that they're not living together anymore.
I don't care whether they're
because she
living
lives at
together
home.
or not. That doesn't mean they're not sleeping together if they're not living together, right? She'll wind up one day on that side of the fence. You have a primary responsibility, Miss White. Your primary responsibility is to take care of your daughter. You pick this guy to father your child. You are in all probability stuck with him at least for the foreseeable future. He's going to be in your life. I strongly suggest that you don't take that out on anybody else. He's not worth it. And the worm isn't even here. Your cases are dismissed, that's all.
This is case number 83 in the matter of Grande versus Matson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Grande, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time, and you have a child together.
Right.
And it is your claim that when you separated, Mr. Matson kept some property that belonged to you and your daughter.
Right.
When did you commence living with Mr. Matson?
We were apart my whole pregnancy. 3 days before my daughter was born, she was born on the 12th, I moved back in with him.
The 12th of what?
The 12th of February was the day my daughter was born. 3 days prior to that is when I moved in.
12th of February?
Yeah.
Okay, so you moved back in a week before.
Mm-hmm.
And how long did that last?
It lasted 2 months.
And what happened?
Well, he was driving me to work. I get in the car. I notice on the dashboard of his car my child's sock. We used to always keep it in there because we thought it was cute to just have a little, you know, baby sock on the dashboard. This particular day I found marijuana on the sock, and I got very, very angry, and I said, "Is this the kind of father you want to be?" And he had told me over 5 times since my daughter was born that he was no longer going to use drugs, but that was not the case.
Okay.
So the fight was over that.
And what happened?
He got all mad at me, told me I don't help out around the house, I don't do anything. He ended up calling the police, asking them to watch and escort me out of the house. I had less than 20 minutes to pack my things, and basically everything I was trying to gather up I couldn't even do. I was holding my baby, crying and begging, "Please don't do this." I had less than 20 minutes. I left.
Okay. And then what happened?
I moved to a friend's house, and I came back like probably 2.5, 3 weeks later to retrieve my belongings, and I noticed.
Where was the baby during that time?
And the baby was with me.
Okay, and you came back to get your property. Had you made an arrangement with him to get your property?
Yes. He said, "Come and get your things," and I came, and then I noticed everything was gone. All of the stuff that I had laid out, he didn't pack. He told me he would pack my property and my daughter's.
What property?
Clothes, baby bottles.
Whose clothes?
My clothes and my daughter's clothes. Everything. All my grooming products. I had to leave with not even my toothbrush because I had less than 20. I left with the clothes on my back.
I would always take my toothbrush if I had 20 minutes. So you must have taken something in 20 minutes. What did
No.
you?
I left with my child's diaper bag and clothes for her and a stroller. I didn't even have a car.
So you're talking about personal effects and your daughter's clothes.
And mine.
Well, what clothes of yours? I mean, this is not a very easy thing to do. You can't speculate as to what clothes there are. You say clothes. What clothes?
He stole my sexy clothes probably because he doesn't want me to have them. I had this gown that was the $800 gown. I no longer have that. He stole CDs of mine and my labor and delivery tape, my ultrasound video, things to me that are priceless that the value of money cannot, replace.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Madsen.
How you doing today?
Don't ask me questions. I ask questions. What happened?
We had a disagreement. It wasn't over what she's saying, but she's got a really volatile.
Just what was it over?
It was about her working.
Well, tell me about it.
She doesn't like to.
And?
She just gets really mad when she has to go do something that pertains to work. And I'd given her a ride to work. She was late. The guy told her to go home because she wore the wrong shoes. After I'd already left, she called me and told me to come back and pick her up. And she was just out of her mind then.
So this argument happened on your way. After you had dropped her off, she called you to come back and pick her up. Does that sound familiar to you?
No, I do work.
Now, just a second.
Okay.
The day of this incident, who were you working for?
I worked for this promotional company called...
Go ahead, Mr. Madsen.
Well, on my first way, I'd like to add, on my first way out after I dropped her off, she'd said, "I hope you get in a car crash and die." But...
Well, was that over the marijuana cigarettes?
It was about another fight.
Okay. But did she find the remnants of drugs in the car?
No, she did not.
All right.
And I have a clean drug test here to prove everything.
Okay. What prompted you to take a drug test?
Because she alleged that in our child custody case. So the second she did that, I went and took a test.
Did you take a hair follicle test or a urine test?
A urine and blood.
Okay.
The issue over her clothes, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Is we together put all of her clothes in this trailer that was on the side of my house, and I give her permission to retrieve them out of there. I have pictures of her clothes boxed. I have her things hanging up in the trailer. I have pictures of all of her things in boxes that she helped put in there. And I helped her load them into a minivan when she came over to retrieve them.
Did you take those things?
Yes, I did.
Fine. So you took the things that he had put in boxes. Now, things that you're talking about here, my baby's first footprints, the birth certificate, etc. What's the etc.?
All of her clothes.
Okay. Who purchased the clothes?
The clothes, I was the #1 person at the
purchased?
church, my friends, and myself.
Where did you purchase the clothes from if you told me you weren't working?
This was during my pregnancy.
Where were you working during your pregnancy?
I worked at in Associates. It's a promotional company.
Your Honor, the day I loaded her van for her, I videotaped that, and she didn't inventory any of the boxes. And she went directly to the police station from there, just claiming that I had stolen everything, and filed this report from there. Okay. And also there was a 9-dresser drawer that we had dedicated just to the baby things. From that, I kept 2 drawers worth of clothes, and I also have partial custody of the child, and I need some clothes for the child.
Absolutely, you're absolutely right, sir. You should absolutely have some of the baby's things.
And to prove her character, here's a ransom note for the child, proving, says, #1, I want $10,000 before we get back together. Type of person she is. I had to file a restraining order because I'd given her $1,200 over the weekend to fix her car to get the baby around while we were not together, and she was living with somebody else.
Let me see the papers.
On Monday, she called me to tell me she was taking the baby. She got in a fight with her next guy, and she was going to take the baby to Nebraska. So I filed the restraining order to keep the baby here in the States.
And I assume that that was granted, that she is prohibited from removing the child from the jurisdiction without your consent. What?
Actually, that's not what happened. He kidnapped my child from me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This person lives in a $500,000 home.
Is that the home you were living in with him?
Mm-hmm.
Was it comfortable?
Not really.
And later today,
the initial problem was created by you. You personally, not her.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Frishta Grande claims the father of her child, Mark Matson, stole her baby's belongings and her clothes.
How can he kidnap his child?
Well, what happened was I told him, if you don't help me find a home after you just left me, I have no choice but to move to Nebraska with my family where they're going to support me. He just kicked me out the week before. Of course I didn't trust him. I asked him to watch my child for me while I went to a computer class and looked for an apartment. When I came to pick her up, that's when he petitioned for the restraining order and everything. He had her for 4 days. I have right here on his own from a letter from my attorneys stating that he returned my daughter to me. This is when she's 2 months.
So what? You're both parents. You each have equal right to custody until the court says otherwise. He can't kidnap his own child.
He was gone.
Just as you can't kidnap, because you each claim that the other... Shh, I'm speaking. He can't kidnap his own child, nor can you kidnap your own child unless there is a prior custody order.
Your Honor, and as far as this case is over, the things that she's missing, if you wanted to call the next guy who lives at the beach that she ran off with, he has a garage full of things. He's called me. He and I have become friends since because she ousted herself from his house. He and I have become friends since then, and
What's
I'm
his
supposed
name? From the defendant's house, did you move into Mr. house?
Yes, I stayed 1 week.
He's requesting...
Do you have anything at Mr. house?
Yeah, I have baby furniture, and I'm moving into my apartment tomorrow.
Where did you get the baby furniture from?
I got it for $100 at a garage sale.
Okay.
This is a list of receipts that he made a copy of everything he purchased for our daughter. And the total money that he has spent on his daughter is $418. When this person lives in a $500,000 home, has 3 companies.
Is that the home you were living in with him?
Mm-hmm.
Was it comfortable?
Not really. He always has people over.
Just a second. If he's living in a $500,000 home, madam, it must be either a very luxurious 2-room, $500,000 home, or else there was room for the baby's furniture that you bought that is at Mr. house.
He refused to turn the office into a nursery. He wouldn't make room for the baby's room.
Do you have the baby's birth certificate?
No, I do not have that with me.
Okay. Do you have the baby's first footprints?
Yes, I have.
You do. So make a copy of them.
I will.
Make a copy of them. You're as entitled to that as she is. What other things does he have that are irreplaceable?
My ultrasound video, my labor and delivery.
Do you have an ultrasound video?
I have found that since then. I've never
Wonderful.
watched it. I don't need it. She can have it. No
Perfect.
problem.
What else?
The labor and delivery video.
The one that I shot on my camera, I will make her a copy of.
Will you do that?
That's no problem.
Will you do that within the next
It's our
couple of
child.
days?
I have no problem with
Would
our.
you do that within the next couple of days? That's easy. Make her a
Yes, ma'am.
copy. What else do you want, Miss Grande?
I would like my ring back. There's also this ring that an old boyfriend of mine gave to me.
Yes.
Sapphires and diamonds. I've
How do you
had
know
it
he
for
has
4
it?
years.
Do you know where that ring is?
Your Honor, I've never seen such a ring. And
Fine.
she's
I haven't.
left.
This is the first time I'm hearing about a ring. What's next?
That's it.
Great. Look how lovely this is. We've accomplished making you into an almost happy family. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
God. Said that if I don't give her $10,000, I'll never be a part of the baby's life.
This is her shirt that when she was born, the hospital gave to me. He washed it like it was a fabric softener or something. I mean, this is something I was going to have framed from my daughter to keep forever.
I don't know if you heard the way she talks, but it's our baby, and she keeps saying my baby, so, you know, everything should be shared.
And now the next case.
All parties on Valancourt versus O'Reilly. Step forward, please.
23-year-old preschool teacher Lisa Valancourt is suing 22-year-old bar manager Brendan O'Reilly for her German Shepherd's broken teeth.
Miss Valancourt, this is your dog, I assume.
Yes.
According to your complaint, you dropped your dog off at a friend's house for your dog to play with her dog.
Yes.
And the defendant came in and decided to take both dogs for a walk, correct?
Take them to the dog park.
Or the dog park. Had anyone asked you to take her dog to the dog park?
No, ma'am.
What happened with her dog?
Well, there's a gentleman playing with the tennis racket and the tennis ball that the dog park supplies. He threw the tennis ball up to hit it, and as he threw it and swung, Jack jumped for the ball. So the tennis racket and Jack met the ball at the same time.
So this gentleman hit the dog in
In the mouth.
snout
Yes, ma'am.
with the tennis racket. Well, what happened to the dog after he was hit?
Jack ran over, laid down, and whimpered a little bit. I ran over to Jack, saw what had happened, talked to the gentleman for a minute, and
What do
then
you mean you
left.
talked to him for a minute?
I said that it was unfortunate that it happened, and asked him his name, and that's about it, and I left.
Did you see the dog's mouth?
Yes, ma'am.
The dog was injured?
Yes, it was.
So this lawsuit is about, pay attention, the medical bills that you
Yes.
incurred for the dog.
Yes.
Now, Mr. O'Reilly, you asked the gentleman his name. Did you ask him where he lived?
No, ma'am.
Didn't you feel as if he was responsible for the injury to the dog?
I did, but many times I had hit tennis balls to park myself, and I thought that if a dog had jumped while I was swinging the racket and hit it, that it would simply be an accident. And because those things happen.
And is that what you told the plaintiff when she told you she wanted you to pay the bills?
Yes.
No, he didn't. He said, you better get a lawyer then, because I'm not going to hand you the money.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You treated this all very cavalierly.
Okay, apparently you've never been to a dog park. They run
No,
around,
I've
they
been to
jump
a
up.
dog park, sir. I have had dogs all my life, and I know exactly what it's like.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lisa Valancourt claims former friend Brendan O'Reilly is responsible for her German Shepherd's broken teeth.
How much were your vet bills for Jack?
The total was $1,921, and they are currently broken again.
What did they have to do to his? It was his front teeth that
His
were broken.
two big canine teeth. He does bite work. He's a Schutzhund dog, which is like police dog training, and I train him. That's what I bought him for. And they had to do 2 root canals, and they recapped him or bonded him. It's like a special thing that the doctor does. And one of them broke. He doesn't like his muzzle. And one of them just actually broke 2 weeks ago when we were doing bite work.
Okay, but right now your vet bills is what
Are
you're suing for,
$1,921.
Okay.
Originally I was asked to pay $900.
Well, it got worse. I assume you have the bills.
I have all of them, yes.
Let me
Can
see
you bring them
them,
up?
please.
Stay right there, man.
Now, the initial problem was created by you. because you, without anyone asking you to, took her dog.
I'd have to disagree.
Who asked you to take
The
her dog
initial
out?
problem was with her leaving the dog at my house.
No. No. You had other options. If she left the dog at your house, were you living there with your girlfriend at the time?
I was living there.
Okay, so you were living there with your girlfriend?
Yes.
Okay. You weren't complaining that the dog was there, because then you could have made a phone call and said, get your dog out of my house. You decided to take her dog out along, I assume, with the other dog that was there.
Yes.
So you made that decision unilaterally. So between the two of you, if the dog is injured, let's say the dog is injured by, you know, a flying meteor, not by somebody else's negligence, you would be responsible because you placed the dog in a position of being in that particular place and time.
Okay, what if I wasn't there when the dog was left there? I had no say in it.
It doesn't make any difference, Mr. O'Reilly. Your recourse is not to take the dog to the park. Your recourse is to pick up the phone and call her and say, come get your dog. I don't want it here.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What I don't understand even further, Mr. O'Reilly, is this man was negligent. If you're going to use a tennis racket to hit balls to a dog, then you have to make sure that the field is clear so that you're not going to hit either another person or a dog. That's your responsibility if you're using a tennis racket, so that you cavalierly walk up to him and say, yeah, you know, it happens.
Okay, apparently you've never been to a dog park. They run
No,
around,
I've
they
been to
jump
a dog
up.
park, sir. I have had dogs all my life, and I know exactly what it's like. But if somebody used a tennis racket, and in using a tennis racket wasn't careful enough so that my dog was injured, I would say not only get his name, but get his address and find out if he had homeowner's insurance that may cover the problem, if there were vet bills. You treated this all very cavalierly. Bottom line, somebody is out $1,921. And if you had the name of the person and the address of the person for her to proceed against,
They already have it.
where did she get the name and address of the person?
As far as I know, her sister tracked the person down and got the name and address and talked to the gentleman.
Why didn't you?
I didn't, simply because if I was in his shoes, I would feel the same. I wouldn't want to be held responsible.
I suggest that since you didn't bother to track down this gentleman initially, that you track him down now, because you have a lawsuit against him for $1,921. You personally, not her. You go get the money from him. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,921. That's all.
Now, this is case number 40 on the calendar in the matter of Bryant versus Lane. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats, please.
Mr. Bryant, the defendant was your girlfriend.
Yes.
What I gather from your complaint is you had some surgery, and for some reason, which you will explain to me, you moved in with the defendant so that she could help you in your recuperation process. And she did. She helped nurse you and take care of you. Then, after a period of time, there was falling out. You left or put out, and she retained some of your property. So you're here for the return of your property or the value of the property. The defendant says she does have some odds and ends of yours, including some jewelry. No jewelry?
Yes.
Yeah, jewelry according to you. And she's keeping those things. She said the jewelry was gift. And as far as the property is concerned, you actually owe her money for rent and the nursing care that she gave you while she was taking care of you, and she is counterclaiming. Is that what this case is about?
Yes.
Okay. How long have you known her?
20-some years.
Have you been together as boyfriend and girlfriend all that time, or just friends?
Friends.
When was your surgery, sir?
November 19th of 2001.
And you were not living together at that time?
No.
How long were you in the hospital?
The first time for, I believe, 4 to 5 days, and then I was let out on a Friday, went back on the following Monday to have a skin graft done, was there overnight.
What kind of surgery was it?
I had 4 compound fractures to my left arm, so they put my bones back together.
How did the accident happen?
I got a coat sleeve hung up in a fan shaft, a big industrial fan shaft at the Oklahoma City plant.
So it was a work-related injury?
Yes.
Now, how did it come about that you moved into Miss Lane's home?
When I was released on Friday morning, I had gone back. I have a travel trailer that I live in while I'm on the road. So I went back to my travel trailer. Miss Lane went back to Tulsa. So that
Went
day,
back to Tulsa?
yes.
Had she come up to be with you?
Yes, while I was in the hospital.
Okay, you called her and told her you had the accident.
I did not call her, but I requested someone to call her to let her know that something happened, yes.
And she immediately came to your side.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So anyway, I was released on the Friday, and she returned to Tulsa, and I stayed there, then spoke with my sister-in-law, who's a RN, and she thought that I might need some attention because my arm, I couldn't get around very well. So suggested that I come back to Tulsa and let her and maybe someone else watch after me. So that's when I went to my brother's house. And then got to brother's house and left there. I think it was the next day, Saturday, and then went over to visit Teresa, and then she returned back to Oklahoma City with me on Monday for my skin graft, which was an overnight ordeal.
And then?
And then after the skin graft, I could have stayed in Oklahoma City, but instead I hooked up my trailer to move it back to Tulsa. And at that time, Miss Lane suggested that I just stay with her for a little care. Instead of staying by myself in the travel trailer, I could stay at her house.
And that's what you decided to do?
Yes.
So you moved your things into her house?
Yes.
You didn't move furniture in there?
No, it was odds and ends, ammunition reloader, rod and reels, bedding.
You thought you were going to go fishing with a bad arm?
No, but it was stuff that I valued. I brought them out of New York, and they were some nice rod and reels, just stuff to put in the garage in the shed of her home, so it wouldn't be in my trailer.
And did she help you when you were there?
At times, yes. She was quite an assistance, yes.
When did you move in?
Well, it would have been like November the 26th, 27th, somewhere in there.
And how long did you stay?
Till January the 25th.
What happened on January 25th?
I had gone to my brother's house, which is about 20 miles north of there, and got to talking, and then found out an alternative place to live, so I decided to do that, to move out.
Okay. So why didn't you take your stuff?
I went back to, like 2 days later to get it, and she refused to let me have it.
Well, when you went to your brother's house, were you on good terms with Miss Lane?
Yes.
And you just stayed away for 2 days?
Yes.
Did you call her during that 2-day period?
We spoke on the phone, yes.
How often?
Maybe twice.
Well, what did you tell her?
Just that I was tired of just being there, that it wasn't going to work out, so I decided it's time for me to get out.
And when you came back for your things, what happened?
We were back in the hall, back in the bathroom area. I was loading up my personal goods out of the bathroom, and then she said something to the extent of, what do you want me to do, pull my gun out and kill myself? And I said, well, there's no reason to start talking about weapons. So I said, it's time for me to get out of here. And when I went to walk back to the living room down the hallway, she started throwing shampoo bottles and yelling and threatening and things like that. So
you left?
You're right.
You have a list of the things that you left?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. You moved in with an under-the-counter coffee maker?
Oh, I just took that over there. I asked her if she would like to have that instead of the coffee maker she had, and she said yes.
Then that's not something that
no,
you
I don't
expected
need
back.
that. No, no.
All right. Let's just go through this list a little bit, sir. A lot of this stuff is nonsense. Under-the-counter coffee maker, electric can opener.
Those were just items that were left there.
I don't care if they were left there. It depends upon whether they were your items or not. If you brought them into the house and said, this is nicer than the one you have, that's not something that's yours. How did the electric can opener get there?
I took it in. It came out of my trailer.
What's a Camel C-note?
Oh, they're camel cash that you get off of cigarettes that you collect, and then you get goods through a catalog form.
Mm-hmm. A snake shower head.
Right.
Well, tell me about that.
It's just a shower head that you put on, and it...
Yeah, I know what it is. How come it came out?
Because most shower heads are not high enough for me because I'm tall, and a snake gets it up above my head.
So you bought it in order to shower in her house?
Right.
That's nice. Sanyo VCR.
Right.
Where did that come from?
That was mine. She had a VCR also, but instead of moving it from one room to another, I brought mine in to use in the front room and then had hers in the back room, so in case we wanted to watch tapes, videos.
Mm-hmm. A charcoal grill, did that also come from your trailer?
Yes.
Rubbermaid container with Lee reloader and gun cleaning accessories.
Right. I reload my own shells for my pistols.
All right, I see a lot of stuff here that's nonsense. This list is stupid.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Finally, I called to see if he was coming home, and he never showed. So I finally called his voicemail and said, you need to get your things, and you need to move out. Yes, ma'am.
First, let's get to his property.
Okay.
Okay? And I'm not talking about the lady's ring set. You're going to tell me about that. You have a whole assortment of his junk, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you still have it.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're going to pack it all up.
Yes, ma'am.
Nice boxes. Don't make a mess of it.
Okay.
You know him for 27 years. It's unfortunate that it came to this, but within 5 days, you'll have all of the stuff packed up because you don't want him in your house, I assume.
That's true.
And you will have it set out on the front porch at 12 noon, and he will come and get it. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Now let's get to the ring sets, because that's something that I want to discuss separately. Tell me about the ring sets.
Okay. The one I am talking about is the one that he gave me in September of 2000.
Is that the ring set you're talking about, sir?
Yes, an engagement ring set, yes.
Okay. And from September of 2000 until January of 2002, she had that ring.
No.
Where was it?
In the snow in Colorado Springs.
In the snow?
Yes.
You mean it got lost?
It was thrown out in the snow, yes.
And who retrieved it?
Didn't ever find it, ma'am.
So she doesn't have it?
Right.
Okay, so that's not one we're talking about. Which ring set are you talking about, sir?
Another one that it was in my possession in my jewelry box while it was in her home. And then when I got my jewelry box back, the ring was no longer there.
What does it look like?
It's an engagement set. Just two rings. One's an engagement ring.
Where did you get it for? Where did you get it for?
Another lady named Jean.
Did you take that ring set out of his jewelry box?
No, ma'am, I didn't. In fact, he tried to give it to me. And I said I did not want another woman's ring, that if I had any ring, it would be the one that he had given me in the beginning.
So you have no idea what this ring set is?
No, I told him he could pawn it, do whatever he wanted to with it, but I did not want something that was someone else's.
And you didn't take it?
No.
Was there other jewelry in the jewelry box that he did take?
He pulled this out of his pocket.
But you gave him back a jewelry box?
It was a metal box.
Okay. And was there jewelry in it?
No, it was not.
Did you have other jewelry in that box?
Yes, ma'am.
And she gave that box back to you?
Yes.
Okay. So I can't deal with something that's not there. Okay. Now I want you to tell me about your counterclaim.
Okay. As he said, I was called on November 19th from IMSA saying that he had an accident and that he had a broken arm. And they would call me back and let me know which hospital they were taking him to. At that time, I thought it was just a minor break.
Okay, so you got there, you realized it was serious, and at some point he moved in with you.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Anyway, as far as moving in with me, the Thursday of Thanksgiving, when I left the hospital, he had started yelling at me and being real rude. And the nurses suggested that I go on home and take a break, and maybe he would settle down, and that he could call me when he wanted to. And I just told him, when you get ready to apologize or treat me better, then you can call me. Saturday evening, he shows up at my door, and he had been drinking, and he was hurting. And he said, I need to apologize. He told me that he could have died in the accident, and that he felt like he was giving another chance, or I said that, and he said, no, it's like 3 or 4 chances. And he said, I really want to make it right this time. I said, well, what do you mean? He said, well, I want us to try to work it out again. And I said, well, financially, I can't afford for you to move in right now, and I wasn't real sure I wanted him to. But he asked me to take care of him. I did not offer to take care of him.
He asked you to take care of him?
Right.
Okay.
Okay, so I agreed. And so I was taking him back and forth to his operations, his appointments, which is a round trip of 240 miles. He brought his dog, and it stayed at my house, too. And during this time, when we went back for the skin graft, me and my son both went, we helped get his RV ready to bring home. Then we moved it to Collinsville out in the country for his son to live in. At that time, we brought all of his dirty laundry over and things that he needed. A couple of weeks later, his truck was repossessed. So at that time, I was the only one around, so I had to help him unload all of his tools and everything out of the truck.
You really helped him out?
Yes, I did.
So what are you suing him for?
Because he's that way. He's been married
No, what are you suing him for?
For taking care of him, which we also talked with his attorney about.
I want to know what discussion you had with him about paying to take care of him.
He even asked the attorney, how can I compensate her because she is doing all this for me?
And the attorney said?
That he would have to do the compensation on the health care, but as far as the gas and things like that, mileage, that he could put it on his expenses and that workman's comp would reimburse him.
So?
And I never did see any of it.
That's not why you did it. That's not why you did it. You didn't have an agreement with him.
Excuse me?
You didn't have an agreement, a contract.
Exactly.
You took him in because you cared about him. You thought that maybe he was going to change, things would be different. You took care of him, not for the purposes of compensation.
Can my son speak?
No, you speak.
He was a witness to him saying that he would pay me.
Really? Did you tell her you would pay her?
No, ma'am.
No. Miss Lane, how did you expect him to repay you if his truck was repossessed? He had no money.
Because he was starting to get a workman's comp check.
When? In December? January?
I believe mid-December.
Fine. How much did he give you?
Attorney.
How much did he give you from the December checks?
He didn't give me anything in December. It was beginning in January.
What did he give you?
He gave me $173 on 115. On 122, $73 was left in my account. And on 1/8, he gave me cash of $150.
Okay.
He also
They'll pay his
made long-distance
expenses.
phone calls on my phone.
Miss Lane, the problem is you did not have an arrangement with him where he would give you a set amount of money per month, per week, for expenses or anything else. You were planning that he was going to be there permanently. Of course, that's what you said. He said, I'm going to change and I want this relationship to work. Known each other a long time. Things are going to be better. And things didn't get better. But that's not a contract. And I understand that you're angry that you devoted 3 months to him, but you're probably better off cutting it off now and saying there's not going to be a chance for, right? Cut your losses. You didn't have serious out-of-pocket expenses other than what was covered in those checks. I'm talking about just for gas. Your time, the time doing his laundry and cleaning up after him and moving him and all that other kind of stuff, that comes under the heading of wishful thinking. That doesn't come under the heading of contract. So you don't get compensated any more than you've been compensated. You want to tell me what happened, however, because I'm just a little curious. He left your house on January 25th.
Yes, ma'am.
Did he tell you where he was going?
He said he was going to Collinsville and that he'd be back after that.
You expected him back the same day?
Yes.
And did you hear from him?
No.
For how many days?
Finally, I called to see if he was coming home because I thought, that he should.
Who did you call?
I called his brother's house. Well, first I called his cell phone.
And you got no response?
It was on voicemail.
And then you called his brother's house?
Yes.
Was he at his brother's house?
Yes.
And he said what?
He said that him and his brother had just worked things out and they were getting along and they were back to being a family and that they were getting ready to eat dinner. He invited me over and I had just taken my son to the skating rink, so I said no because I have to pick him up. And he said he'd be home later. And he never showed. I called at about 12 to make sure that he was okay because I knew he had been drinking. And his sister-in-law said that he was asleep on the couch. So the following morning, I called and asked if he was coming back or whatever. He said, well, I'm having coffee. I'll be home after that. 1 o'clock rolled around, and I called back. He said, well, I'm watching a movie. I'll be home later. And then after that, his voicemail was on. So I finally called his voicemail and said, if you have no more respect than that for me, and not to tell me the truth, then you need to get your things and you need to move out.
Okay, I got it. Miss Lane, put a period, move on.
I'd be glad
Give
to.
him his stuff back. A lot of this stuff is nonsense. She's not going to give you back a can opener or take apart a shower head. You understand that? There are certain things you want. You have his gun accessories and all that kind of stuff.
But I have a tape that said I could keep those things too.
Listen to me. You don't want any trouble with him, do you?
I've already had enough.
Good. Give him back his junk. You have no use for it, right? Pick better next time.
Oh, I will. He's been married 7 times, so I don't need anybody like that.
Pick better next time. And engaged almost a few times, too, right?
Oh, well, he went right back to that second day. He moved back in with the girl that he sued.
Say toodaloo.
I'd be more than happy to.
Perfect, that's all.
This is case number 122 on the calendar in the matter of Thomas versus Walden. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Mr. Thomas, the defendant is your sister, is that correct?
That's correct.
And it is your claim that while you were in the hospital, your sister stole the property from your home. And later, when you were in a nursing home and you had given her some power over your checking account, she stole money out of your checking account. Is
That's
that right?
correct.
Your sister says that all the money that she used was used for your stay in the nursing home, and then she's going to tell me why she took the property out of your apartment. When did you take ill, sir?
The second week in August is when it all started.
Tell me what happened to you.
I was coming out of the elevator and it didn't stop level with the floor, and I tripped and fell coming out of the elevator. The next thing I remember was 3 or 4 days later when I woke up in the hospital.
Now, what happened when you went to the nursing home, sir, with your sister and the money?
She said we take out a joint account, and that way the nursing home won't get your money. You can't have nothing in your name. I took $2,100 out of my checking account, a personal checking account.
Who paid the nursing home?
My sister paid $1,200. She still owes for October and part of November, but I don't think she'll be back.
Well, you only gave her $2,100, is that right?
What I'm suing for is this, my checks are going direct deposit to the bank. I got out, there was nothing left.
What checks were going into your account?
My Social Security check, $546.
Anything else?
My VA check, $761.
And how many months do you claim your sister took those checks?
2 months.
2 months.
$2,600.
And there came a time when you left the nursing home, Mr. Thomas?
They moved me to a Pine Castle retirement home.
Yes?
I got there, I didn't have no money to pay no money there either.
So?
So they let me go.
And where did you go?
On the street.
Had you ever been on the street before, Mr. Thomas?
No, ma'am.
Is the first time you had been homeless?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you, sir?
76.
Have you lived alone most of your life?
No, not most of my life. I've been married 2 or 3 times.
2 or 3?
Yeah.
Could it have been 4?
Could have been 6.
Could have been 6?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Thomas, your sister says a lot of your life was a little bit of a blur. Do you have a drinking problem?
No, ma'am.
You don't?
I did have.
When?
About 3 years ago when my girlfriend died. I was a common law wife.
So you started to drink?
I didn't drink anything for a year. After that, it was in November. And then the holidays, I drank some.
Okay. Now it's your turn. You got a call that your brother was found unconscious in his room?
Yes, ma'am.
And he was taken to the hospital?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, according to your answer, you do say that you thought he was going to die, so you cleared out his possessions.
May I explain?
Yes.
The landlady...
Was this a room that he had? Just a room?
Well, it was kind of like an efficiency.
An efficiency. Okay.
She called me and said that they had found him half on his couch and half on the floor, and the furniture was furniture that I had give him when he moved into the place because he did not have any. But when they found him, it was not falling off an elevator. The doctor said it was respiratory failure, and he had also had pneumonia. And because of other problems, he also has alcohol dementia and cirrhosis of the liver, and that he was critically ill, and they were not expecting him to live. Well, I called my sister immediately, which lives in North Carolina, and in about 2 days she came down. He was in critical care. While he was there, we started trying to make arrangements as to where he could go for care because the doctor said he would need 24-hour skilled care, which meant he would have to have care around the clock.
He looks pretty healthy. The doctor was wrong.
But that's what he told us at that time.
But he looks pretty good.
And yeah, he recovered. But in the meantime of this deal with him, he wanted to go to the VA, but the VA would not take him because he had to stay alcohol clean for a year before they would take him. We wound up putting him in Bridgeview, is where he went to.
Which is a nursing home?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, did your brother give you $2,100?
No, ma'am, he did not.
Tell me about the money, Miss Walden.
I have a power of attorney here from the nursing home because he would not pay his bills. They didn't want to deal with him because he would get out, he'd have a friend to get him out and take him different places and go back.
Was he drinking?
I can't say that he was. I did not see him drink when he was in the nursing home.
Okay.
But he would go to the dog track and places like that, and he said he was not going to give anybody all of his money. That was the whole deal about it. He said, I am not going to give them a cent. So the meeting was called, and she said, Mr. Thomas, you can either give your sister the power of attorney, or you can have your checks direct deposited to the nursing home so that they would get their money.
How many months did you pay for the nursing home, Miss Walden?
I only paid the one, and then I sent my sister the rest of what money he had given to me because she was still on his account, and she paid part of it.
Yes.
Your Honor, the sister she's talking about, she conned her into writing that check for $900. That was before.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
When was the last time you had a drink? Oh, look at me. When was the last time you had anything of an alcohol or the rest of the money?
I've got copies that she had the bank to fax to me for checks that she did write.
Can I see that, please? That she wrote to the nursing home?
There's one on here she wrote to the nursing home. One she paid for another bill that was $800. There's the 3 copies of the checks that she wrote. This was just a note that she wrote to you. I also have a printout where I drew money from the account to pay for his dentist in the nursing home. And then out of the money that he gave me, Your Honor, 2 days later, he asked me to get him $100 and take to him, which I did. I never wrote one check off of his, nor off of his savings.
What happened when your brother left the nursing home and he says he was on the street for a while?
They told me that they transferred him over to, may I ask her, she knows the name of the nursing home.
Sure.
Pine Castle.
How are you related to these people?
I've known her for 20 years.
And it was her husband that kept his men off the job to move that furniture out also.
Okay, the furniture, by the way, was given to you as a gift. Is that right, sir? By your sister?
She gave me a couch.
Okay. Go ahead.
When he went to that nursing home, it must have been 2 days because I got a call from the emergency room, and she told me that my brother was there and was wanting me to come and pick him up. And I said, well, what's he doing out there? I thought he was in a nursing home. She said, well, he had called 911 and had an ambulance to bring him out and was saying that he had respiratory failure again but was refusing treatment. And because
you remember any of this, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
The nurse told me, he said he didn't need treatment because he said that he wanted to go out there because he was wanting to get out of the nursing home. He was working undercover for the FBI. I said, well, if he's working undercover for the FBI, he might better get somebody else to take him, because at this time he'd already took a restraining order out on me, and I couldn't go around him.
Why did you take out a restraining order against your sister?
After I got out, I took a restraining order.
Why?
She said I didn't give her no money. Here's the money I gave her. Part of
$2,100.
She got it messed up. That's what I told her when she come to the nursing home. I said, you screwed up everything. And she said, if you say that one more time, I'm going to slap you. I said, well, you have screwed up everything. And she started beating on me, and I was laying in the bed with a tooth aching. And before the dentist, I never seen no dentist.
Just a minute. So you're telling me your sister beat you while you were lying in the bed?
Yes, ma'am. That's why I got out the restraining order when I got out.
Yes.
Your Honor, I went to the nursing home because when I went in to transfer the money, when I transferred the $751, he had already closed the account. It made him mad. That's why I went up to the nursing home, and that's what led into this. And when I walked up there, because I had told him, we had a discussion, and I said, Nick, if you bother that money that's in there so that I cannot pay your bill, if you mess with that money, I'm through with it. I'm not going to try to do it anymore. I did not walk over and start hitting him. I sat down on the bed that was across from his bed. I said, Nick, you went and did that. Move that money, you did exactly what I asked you not to do. I said, and I'm not putting up with it. And he gets this little grin on his face like, well, you know, I've pulled one over on you. I have the police report right here, which has the nurses, the head nurse was standing there when this confrontation took place. I never hit him, Your Honor. I did not.
Honor,
and
that's a lie. There's no head nurse there. A nurse come in, nurse's aide come back there after she left and gone and stopped my hand from bleeding. What was trying to protect myself.
I don't have to read it. Okay. Mr. Thomas, I want to ask you a question. Did you ever tell anyone at a medical facility that you worked for the FBI?
No, ma'am.
Have you ever been psychiatrically hospitalized?
No, ma'am.
Do you have cirrhosis of the liver?
Yes, ma'am.
And what about alcohol dementia? Were you ever diagnosed with alcohol dementia?
No.
Mr. Thomas, the defendant says that whatever money she had of yours, she used to pay your nursing home bill, as well as a small dental bill, and the rest of the money she sent over to your sister, and your sister paid another bill for insurance. Have you spoken to her about your
I talked to her on
money?
the phone one time. He sent me $100, and I said, put the rest of it on my insurance. But she wanted to get in on the pie.
So your other sister was getting some of your money?
They done that while I was in the hospital.
Mr. Thomas, it sounds to me as if your sisters and your family tried for a long time to take care of you.
They
gave
did try to put me away.
No, they did try to take care of you. You were living in an efficiency room. They furnished it for you. Your sister went and made whatever arrangements were necessary in the nursing home. Your other sister had an account with you because you weren't really able to take care of all your own business. Mr. Thomas, are you able to take care of your own business now?
I certainly am.
When was the last time you had a drink?
That...
Oh, look at me. When was the last time you had anything of an alcoholic nature to drink?
Back in August of last year. I'm under heavy medication and I can't drink if I want.
So up until August of last year, when you took ill and fell unconscious, you were drinking?
No, ma'am. I fell in the elevator.
He was
I
drunk.
said, up until August of last year, you were drinking, right?
No, ma'am.
You just told me the last drink you had was August of last year.
I thought you meant when I was drinking when I in the elevator.
No. Okay. Mr. Thomas, you doing all right now?
Yes?
Good. Case dismissed.
Ma'am?
That's it.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just think that I don't feel like he's capable of taking care of himself, and I'd like to see him get some help.
She let me down when I needed help.
The judge could see that the truth, and it always prevails.
Don't sign a damn thing.
Trust in the Lord. He's the one that pulled me through this.
Just want to get the hell out of here and go.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Jeffries versus Green. Step forward, please.
James Jeffries is suing his ex-boyfriend, Frank Green, for money stolen from his savings account, the return of personal property, and for vandalizing his van.
Mr. Jeffries, according to your complaint, you and the defendant had been in a relationship for about 7 years.
Correct.
Sometime, I believe it was in June of this year, you entered a drug rehabilitation program, a 29-day program.
Correct.
It is your claim, sir, that you came out of that program 29 days later and found that Mr. Green had stolen some of your property,
Yes.
taken money out of your savings account with your ATM card,
Yes.
and when you confronted him about this, that he vandalized your car right in front of you.
Yes.
Mr. Green said he did none of those things.
That's right, Your Honor.
Now, how would he have gained access to your savings account, sir?
I gave him my ATM card at his urging. I had told him that I would pay his June rent if he would get my apartment back into order for me. I had told him I would call the bank and get him the money. He didn't need the ATM card, but he said, oh yes, he needed the ATM card and he needed the ATM card.
How was the bank going to give him money on your telephone call?
I don't know. I was diagnosed with having had suffered many strokes, and I just, wasn't thinking clearly, I guess.
What proof do you have that Mr. Green took the money?
Mr. Green had the card.
Yes.
And he cracked my code for my PIN number.
Did he ever give you his ATM card?
No, Your Honor, he never did.
All right, so there is no proof that he actually withdrew that money. Was there anybody else living in your apartment, sir?
No.
Anybody else have access to your apartment?
No.
Your Honor,
Yes.
he had several people living with him both before and after he was in the hospital.
That's wrong.
Well, I'm not sure because certain things he doesn't quite remember. Let's talk about the stolen items, sir.
Yes.
What items do you allege that Mr. Green stole from you?
Oh, a whole bunch of stuff. A Seiko watch. Where's the list?
Where do you allege he stole this property from?
From my apartment.
Was that while you were in rehab?
Yes.
Before you went into rehab, were you living there alone?
Yes.
For how long?
Since Mr. Green decided to vacate the premises January 4th of...
So between January 4th and June 6th, according to you, you were living there alone?
Yes.
Using drugs?
No.
Between January and June? Of course you were. What did you go into drug rehab for if you weren't using drugs?
Alcohol.
Drugs, alcohol, whatever it was. You didn't know what you were doing during periods of time from January until June.
Okay.
Is it a fair statement? Shh. Is it a fair statement that there were other people in and out of your home?
There might have been an occasional guest, but no one lived there.
I don't care whether anyone lived there, but you had people in and out of your home between January and June.
Yes.
Go
Your
ahead,
Honor,
Mr. Green.
He had just had the police there because there was a drug dealer that was in his apartment, and evidently this drug dealer had taken a bunch of money he had.
Okay. Mr. Jeffries, are you certain that you saw Mr. Green vandalize your car?
Yes, I saw him do it.
Well, tell me what you saw, sir.
I had just pulled into my back parking lot. I went outside and I noticed, first of all, that my passenger side mirror was broken. I'd seen him go up to the van. Didn't know what he was doing. Just, you know, broke the mirror. And then I watched him to see how much further he was going to go. I didn't know what he was using, but he keyed the van all the way around. Wrote his name and everything.
You have a police report?
Yes.
Can I see it, please? Sure. Mr. Jeffries.
Yes.
I'm glad you gave me this police report. This police report clearly says that you did not witness Mr. Green doing any damage to your car. He, referring to you, stated that the name Frank was keyed into the hood of the car, and that is the reason he has listed the above-named suspect. The complainant stated that there were people in the building that told him they had witnessed the suspect vandalize the vehicle, but that you didn't see him do it.
Well, then they messed up on the police report.
Well, somebody messed up. Look, Mr. Jeffries, are you feeling better now?
Yes.
Great. Are you sober?
Yes.
All the time?
Most of the time.
Most of the time is not good. You can't be a sometimes social drinker.
Right.
You can't drink at all. Forget about this. This is over. You don't see each other anymore?
No.
You don't see him anymore?
No.
You go to AA meetings?
Yes.
All the time?
Occasionally.
You don't do it, you're going to continue to have strokes. One day they're going to find you on the floor. Put your hand down. Doesn't look like you're losing, right?
No.
Good. One day they're going to find you on the floor. Not going to be able to help you. If you were diagnosed as having had several strokes, how old are you?
49.
You want to live to be 50?
Yes.
Stay clean. That's all.
Yeah, this is case number 231 on the calendar in the matter of Vernasdale versus Haskin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
How are you related to the defendant?
She's my sister.
Your mother passed away in February this year. According to you, you are the rightful owner of your mother's Jazzy Wheel, which is a vehicle used to get your mother around because she evidently had trouble walking. That Jazzy Wheel ended up at your sister's house. Your sister sold it, and you want the value. Your sister says that it wasn't yours. She doesn't tell me what she, in fact, did with it. She's got a counterclaim for some nonsense that I'll get to in a minute. Why do you think this Jazzy Wheel that belonged to your mother was yours?
Because I cared for my mother. My mother left it. She left everything to me.
Show me the will.
She's always talking bad about me to her. She told me that I could never see the kids again.
How old are you?
13.
You want to be here?
Yes.
Or would you like to be outside?
I can be here.
Okay, stay.
Okay.
Did you admit this will to probate?
No.
I certainly wouldn't admit this will to probate. You wrote this out, is that right?
No, my sister-in-law did.
Sister-in-law?
Mm-hmm.
Certainly your mother didn't write it out.
No, she was there. No, my mom, she was in very poor health.
Uh-huh.
She couldn't write anything.
Look, I wouldn't admit this in evidence. It's ridiculous.
Okay.
In between the 2 pages that you handed me is a blank piece of paper. What we call the attestation page, which is where your mother allegedly signed it and was witnessed. There's no nexus to this piece of paper. Do you understand that? Which means your mother didn't know what in the world she was signing when she signed this thing.
Exactly.
I mean, she could have signed something that gave somebody a, power of attorney, as far as she's concerned. So this is nonsense.
Okay.
So there is nothing that indicates that the Jazzy Wheel belonged to you. By the way, did you take your mother's furniture?
Yes.
Did you take your mother's jewelry?
Yes.
Did you take your mother's clothes?
Yes.
Did you take your mother's pictures?
Yes.
So,
I cared for, you know, I'm not really suing for the Jazzy Will. It's just the principle of the matter that Lucinda was never around with for my mother. She, you know, and then when my mom died, all of a sudden she came into the picture and just made everybody, you know, very unhappy, unpleasant. She did a lot of terrible things to us. She has a very bad drug habit, and see, I wasn't going to sue her at all. Prior to this, on June 28th, she was messed up and she smashed my car. And she begged me not to call the police and not to call, you know, make a police report because she would lose her license, she would lose her job, and she would go to jail.
So she smashed up your car? She
smashed up my car. And then when I contacted her, you know, to go over and get my things, I asked, you know, I said,
why were your things at her house?
Because I stayed with her while, after my mom died, I lost my home, and so I stayed with her for 26 days.
What do you mean you lost your home? How come you lost your home when your mom died?
Because I could no longer, the burden of all the finances and everything, I couldn't pay, you know, it was either bury my mom or pay my rent, and I buried my mom.
Baloney. Wait just a second. That's baloney.
Yeah.
Shh. I haven't gotten to you yet. Just try to calm yourself. Don't make a bad situation worse. You didn't lose your house because you buried your mother.
There was other reasons.
All right, so then let's, you know, what do you think, I'm stupid? I'm not stupid. You didn't lose your house because you buried your mother, if you buried your mother at all. Okay, and you moved into your sister's house because according to you, you spent 26 days in your sister's house. You know, there's also very little question in my mind that your sister does have some sort of a substance abuse problem. She has a substance abuse problem. That comes from my years in the family court, right?
Yes.
Okay, good girl. Tell the truth.
I am telling the truth.
I know. But you stayed there with her for 26 days. And when you went there, you brought, according to you, you brought the Jazzy Wheel there. When you left, she said, leave it here, leave all the stuff here, or you can leave it in the garage. And either she refuses to give it to you now, or she sold it. Did you sell it, or do you have it?
I sold it.
How much did you sell it for?
$800.
Good. Do you have your mother's jewelry?
Yes.
Did you sell any of it?
Oh, no.
You kept it all?
Yes.
What about her furniture?
My brother has the furniture.
You gave your brother the furniture?
Yes.
As a gift to him, or is your brother holding on to it for you?
No.
Are you the brother? You have the furniture?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you happy with it?
Yes, ma'am.
Shh, shh, shh. Just a second. Just a second. So the furniture you have, the jewelry you have. Great. She has the Jazzy Wheel. You have a counterclaim.
Okay.
Shh. Just a second. Just a second.
Okay.
Stop for a second.
Okay.
But for the fact that she brought this lawsuit against you for the Jazzy Wheel, did you have any intention of suing her?
Yes, because I took her in. She lost her house because of paraphernalia, drugs, pornography that me and my brother both took off of the wall. Okay?
You're not following what I'm saying to you.
I wasn't going to let my sister out on the streets.
That's not what I said.
Okay?
You weren't planning on suing her until she sued you.
No, I wasn't.
Right.
No,
Miss
I wasn't.
Haskin, listen to me.
I wasn't.
Right. Forget about it. Your sister got something when your mother died. Your brother got something when your mother died.
All I asked...
You got something when your mother died. That's it. Goodbye.
Why does that excuse? You may step out.
All I was trying to do was be a big sister.
She's never been a good sister.
Now, I didn't think she would stoop this low and sending me to court.
She was the bad seed. She's always been the bad seed.
All I wanted from my mother was her picture and a Jesus.
You'll never have them.
Okay.
Oh, I don't think it was fair because my sister was not a part of my mother's life.
It's all right. I got my mother's pictures.
You are not my sister.
You aren't mine either.
She's been doing this since she was 13 years old.
This is what I get for trying to be a good person.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Hoffman versus Favilla. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Candy Hoffman is suing her brother, building engineer Howard Favilla, for stealing inheritance money meant for her children.
Miss Hoffman, the defendant is your brother.
Correct.
It is your claim that when your mother died, she left each of her grandchildren $1,000.
Right.
And it was the direction, I assume, that the money be given to the children at the time that each of them turned 16 years old.
Correct.
You have 4 children?
Right.
One of your children had already reached 16, so that child got her $1,000 right away.
Right.
The money was given to your brother, according to you, to be placed in the bank, interest-bearing accounts for the children. And you claim that your brother stole the money.
Correct.
When did your mother pass away?
In 1996.
And how did she give this $1,000 to each of her grandchildren?
My understanding is that it was a verbal between my aunt and my brother Howard.
Is your daughter, who is 16, here today?
Yes, she is. Melissa.
Melissa, could you stand up, please? At the time of your grandmother's death, you received some money.
Right.
From whom?
There was a check given, I don't know who it was, and my parents received a check, and my stepfather and me went down to the bank, and he had opened up a savings account for me to have. And that's how I received the $1,000.
Now, did you have a discussion with your brother about the money for your other 3 children?
Yes, they asked me for my younger children's Social Security numbers and so that they could put money away. It was supposed to go into an account for them.
Did they tell you how much?
$1,000.
$1,000 for each child?
Right.
When did you discuss with your brother getting the money for your children?
I believe it was when we were distributing the inheritance at my mom's house.
Well, tell me about the discussion.
We were discussing the fact of, well, making arrangements for all of the property to be distributed between the kids. And they said that they wanted, Howard and my aunt, he said that they wanted the Social Security numbers for my kids so that they can put the money away because they didn't want us to have it because my mom didn't trust us. And so I gave the Social Security numbers to my brother Howard to put into an account, and I've got evidence of an account.
Could I see it, please?
Sure.
Okay, Mr. Favilla, I will hear you, sir.
Your Honor, the accounts were opened for the kids by me with my own money.
You're telling me that these accounts were opened with your money,
Right.
just coincidentally at the time that your mother died.
There wasn't anything going on with the estate at that time. She had an executive for the estate that wasn't even involved in this case, wasn't even involved in the money at the time, like she states, because the executor handled all the estates after my mom died.
How much money did your mother leave?
I think it was like $40,000, like $10,000 per child.
Now, sir, can you explain to me how it came about that the plaintiff's oldest child got $1,000 at the time of your mother's death?
I don't know, Your Honor.
What do you mean you
I don't know how she got the money. She wasn't, as far as I know, she wasn't one of the people that took the account on. I don't remember that.
Oh,
it's been quite a few years.
She was 16. Well, it's been quite a few years. Can you show me an account where you drew out $3,000 in order to put in accounts for your niece and nephews?
No, I cannot.
Why not?
Because I threw all that paperwork away, not knowing that I was going to be taken to court.
Uh-huh. Now, can you tell me why you closed the accounts in 1999?
I closed the accounts, Your Honor, because I was in desperate need of money at the time, because I filed bankruptcy.
Now, can you tell me under whose Social Security number these accounts were opened?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Well, none of the accounts were opened with your Social Security number, sir.
And that's what I had I used those numbers for the accounts that I opened up for the kids. My name, I opened the accounts for the kids, and then had their name and their Social Security numbers put into the accounts.
So it was clear that this money was intended to be for the children.
It was intended to be for the children.
That's right.
Yes. But
And
it
you
was
had
my
no
money.
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe that, sir. I think that's a lie. That's a crock.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And later today,
What were you in jail for?
Oh man, I really don't want to tell you.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Homemaker Candy Hoffman is suing her brother, building engineer Howard Favilla, for stealing inheritance money meant for her children.
Sir, you had no right to touch the accounts that were set up for these children. They were set up with their Social Security numbers. It was clear that the intention was that these accounts be accounts for the children. I do not believe that you, out of the goodness of your heart, opened accounts for all your nieces and nephews in the amount of $1,000. I believe that the fact that the children's grandmother left each of them $1,000 is further evinced by the fact that the children who had attained the age of 16 were given that money, this child being one of them. The interest that was accrued on those accounts until the time he closed them brings the account's value to $4,039, and I am entering a judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's been a real struggle.
We haven't talked for a while.
Not talking to him, not being able to have any conversation.
It doesn't really bother me that much.
He's my uncle. I don't know why he would do that.
It's unfortunate.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Francie versus Halliday Kulik. Step forward, please.
Retired Army Sergeant Norma Francie is suing her son, 24-year-old car washer Vincent Halliday, and his girlfriend, 25-year-old healthcare worker Jennifer Kulik, for an unpaid loan. Vincent says his mother told him it was a gift.
Miss Francie, the defendant is your son.
Yes,
This is his
ma'am.
girlfriend. And it is your claim that you loaned them money for rent because they said that they were about to be evicted.
Yes, ma'am.
And they never paid you back. Your son says that it was never intended to be a loan. You were helping him out. He had fallen on hard times. When did you make this loan?
On the 5th of July, he come and said that he was going to be evicted. At that time, I didn't have the money, so I borrowed it in order to lend it to him.
Who did you borrow it from?
I borrowed it from my boyfriend.
How much money did he need?
He needed $315, and he asked that I make the check payable to his landlord. And that I did.
Go ahead.
And Vincent stated at that time that he would bring the money back the first week of August when he received his paycheck. And at that time, he didn't show up. And he had talked with my daughter and told my daughter about...
This is your daughter?
Yes, ma'am.
Step up. Tell me your name.
Jamie Halliday.
Miss Halliday, you want to tell me the conversation that you had with your brother?
When he called me, he told me that he wasn't going to pay my mother back because she's our mom. He shouldn't have to pay our mother back. They were getting ready to have a baby, so he doesn't have the money to pay her back. So he said he just wasn't going to pay her back at all.
Let me hear you.
Well, I was, at the time that I needed the money, I called my mom from my cell phone because I was working, and I told her that I didn't have my rent money and I needed $315 to pay my rent, or I was packing up all my stuff and putting it on her porch and I was moving back in with her. And then she called me and told me she was going to give me the money. It was nothing about a loan because my mom, she gives me and my sister money all the time. It's not a loan. I know better than to ask my mom for a loan because that means you got to pay it back.
Your Honor.
And I never had any intentions on paying my mom back because I feel she owes me more than $315.
Why is that?
Well, okay, listen. I was 13 years old. She kicked me out of the house when I was 13. She moved out on me and left me in a house all by myself, being 13 years old. And that led to other things, and I feel that she owes me more than $315. She owes me a lot. And I feel I don't have to pay that to her because she owes me.
What were you in jail for?
What was I in jail for?
That's not a joke. I didn't say anything funny. Jail is not a joke. What were you in jail for? It says you were in jail.
Yeah, I was.
For what?
Well, oh man, I really don't want to tell you.
Well, I really want to tell you this, Mr. Halliday. You're making a baby with your girlfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
And when is this bundle of joy due?
In May.
You better get it together, you and your girlfriend.
I've got it together.
No.
Just as long as my mom stays out of my life. I got everything together.
No, Mr. Halliday, you do not, sir. You do not have it together. Anybody can make a baby. Dogs, cats, goldfish, guppies.
So now I'm like...
Shut! I want you to pay attention to what I'm saying.
Okay.
All kinds of species make babies. In order to be a human parent, you have to be prepared to set a perfect example for your children, to have a work ethic, to do morally the right thing, to provide for your children, especially when they're little, to start off with a good moral framework, which usually means, in my modern culture, that first you find a mate, then you have a courtship, then you get married, then you think about having a family. You see, you're already starting doing it a little bit backwards. So what I'm telling you is being a parent involves a whole bunch of things, and you don't have a whole bunch of time to grow up. But I'm going to give you a head start, sir. You're going to pay your mother back. If you're old enough to make a baby with your girlfriend, you're old enough to pay for your own rent. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $315. That's all.
Your Honor, this is case number 513 on the calendar in the matter of Davis Frazier versus Milliken. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
I gather that the three of you were roommates and you had an arrangement while you were roommates that Mr. Milliken, the defendant, would collect rents from the two of you, your share of the rent, and he would pay the landlord once a month. Is that what your arrangement was?
That's right.
And it is your claim that you paid him the rent for January of this last year, and somehow the landlord never got your rent.
Correct.
So you want to be reimbursed for the rent as well as some other utility bills, etc. Mr. Milliken has some cockamamie defense, which I really, quite frankly, don't understand, Mr. Milliken, but I'm sure given an appropriate amount of time, you're going to explain it to me, right?
I can.
Sure you can. Okay. How long were you roommates?
For about 6 months.
And the arrangement worked okay with giving Mr. Milliken your rent and him paying the landlord?
Correct.
How much was your share of the rent?
My share was about $405.
Don't tell me about. It was $405?
$405.
And yours, Miss Davis?
$475.
Why was yours more?
I had the master bedroom with the bathroom.
As it should be. And how much was your share of the rent?
$405.
And there were just the three of you?
Correct.
So tell me what happened in January, January's rent.
Okay, December 13th, I gave him $200 out of my paycheck for January. And then December 23rd, I think it was, I gave him the other $205 to pay for January's rent. So
Fine. So far correct, sir?
That is correct.
So you're paid up for January?
Yes.
And you, Miss Davis?
I paid on January 3rd a check for the amount of $475.
$475. And you cashed the check. Mr. Milliken?
Yes.
Good. Okay, and is it conceded among the three of you that January's rent never got to the landlord?
Somehow it didn't.
Correct.
So it never got to the landlord. All right, Mr. Milliken?
My rent is $405. I have a friend who, she decided to pay my rent, and Angie did not work, and we weren't sure if she was going to come up with the rent. She wasn't sure as well, so I went to a friend, and she loaned me my $405, and Angela's $475. It came up
But Angela already gave you, has now given you the $475.
This was prior to her giving me the money.
So you have a friend who decides to loan you some money.
$880.
And this friend's name is?
Natasha.
And where is she now?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
She was just an acquaintance.
You know that that's a dumb story. That this
I know
is a
it
dumb
is.
Story. It's a very dumb story.
It sounds like a dumb story, but it's
a
true.
very dumb story.
It's true.
All right, so tell me, let me hear the rest of the story.
Natasha gave me $880 as a loan to pay my rent and Angie's rent.
Where is Mr. Frazier's rent? His $405 in cash.
I gave her the $405. She wrote me a check for the full amount of $1285.
Go ahead.
I then took the check, and at that time to pay the rent, I was going on vacation. I was in a hurry. I dropped it in the drop box. The only time I've ever dropped in the drop box. I was on vacation for 3 or 4 days. I came back, and John told me the rent hadn't been paid. I went into the apartment office to check, and they said they hadn't received it. I gave them the name of Natasha, and they looked for the check, and they didn't find it.
So?
So then John took it upon himself to ask his boss for the money, and he borrowed $1,285 from his boss and paid the rent on...
So now John has paid twice?
John has paid twice on his own, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the check was never found.
Yes. And where's Natasha?
They're saying I owe them $1,335. The rent is only $1,285.
Just a second. Just a second. Where's Natasha?
I don't know where Natasha
Well,
is.
3 days later, when you found out, sir, that they never got the check, you call Natasha and say, put a stop payment on that check. We're going to reissue another check.
I called Natasha. She said the check had been cleared.
He's a hustler. He's a hustler. Okay. $1,285 you borrowed from your boss? Is that what you're telling me?
No, I borrowed $1,000 from my boss, and I put the rest from my paycheck.
You mean to make up January's rent?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I say something?
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand why I owe him the $1,285. I already paid the rent. I paid the rent. I put it in the drop box.
Just a second. Listen to me, sir.
Yes.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
Let's start out with that.
Okay.
Furthermore, Mr. Frazier has paid the following amounts.
Mm-hmm.
He has paid you in cash $405 for which he got no benefit, correct?
Correct.
Then he paid additional amount of money because he paid $12.85 because he also paid for you. He also paid for you. You
By
understand?
his choice.
What are you, an idiot? Huh? They perhaps didn't want to be out on the street, and they knew
They
it
were
wasn't the
planning
right
on
thing to do.
leaving anyways.
So what difference does it make, sir? They gave you the money. You blew it. I don't know what you blew it up or around, but you blew it. You made up some story about a vanishing Russian, right, who is gone in the wind, like Zhivago.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Is the phone in his name?
Yes.
So what's your problem?
I was going to pay my portion, and he said, no, pay the whole bill.
Did you?
No, I did not.
Good. Perfect. It's in his name?
Yes.
So he'll never be able to put a phone on again.
And later today,
my mom's situation was getting worse. I was getting frustrated with it, and I wanted my brother.
Drinking problem?
She has a drug problem.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Angela Davis and John Fraser claim former roommate Sean Milliken stole their rent money. Sean is denying the charge.
Okay, what else does he owe you for? You say utility bills. What utility bills?
I have right here, Your Honor, a phone bill that Sean and I were...
Your Honor, that phone bill is in my name. How can I owe him something that's in my name?
Is the phone in his name?
Yes.
So what's your problem? Did you pay him?
Because we were paying half, always. It's
So?
always been like that.
So?
So I was going to pay my portion, and he said, no, pay the whole bill.
Did you?
No, I did not.
Good, so.
Okay.
Perfect. It's in his name?
Yes.
So he'll never be able to put a phone on again.
Okay.
Got it?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,285. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
If Sean would have just been honest with us in the beginning, then I think that we would have had mercy on the situation.
I told the truth, paid the rent, and somehow I didn't come out ahead.
Since he was being deceitful, it just ruined everything.
I understand why they're assuming they do believe in their heart that I lied or stole their money, but that's just not correct.
I don't believe his story about Natasha, and I think it's a bunch of malarkey.
We're not roommates anymore.
Now I can move on with my life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Colley versus Nolan. Step forward, please.
20-year-old food server John Colley and his wife Heidi are suing John's brother, 24-year-old William Nolan, for an unpaid loan to move to Alaska.
Is this your brother?
Yes.
According to your complaint, your brother lived in Missouri?
Mississippi.
Mississippi. And you and your wife were living in Alaska?
Yes.
And your mother lived in Alaska?
Yes.
And it is your claim that your brother borrowed some money from you and your wife in order to relocate to Alaska. He wasn't doing well in Mississippi. You felt that he would do better in Alaska, that he could be of some help with your mother, who was not doing well. So you agreed to advance him the money to move. He came with his family, stayed a short period of time, repaid you nothing of the loan, and left. Your brother says that that is not true, that there was never any talk of a loan. This is money that you just gave him. So let's get some dates and times. How long have you been living in Alaska?
We were both born and raised in Alaska.
So you moved.
Yes, ma'am. In '93, I've been down in Mississippi for about 8 years, 9 years.
You married?
Yes, ma'am.
Have children?
No, ma'am.
What kind of work were you doing in Mississippi?
Detail manager.
Detailing cars?
Yes, I supervised an auto dealership. Yes, ma'am.
How long had you been working there?
4 years.
What made you decide to move back to Alaska?
It was the conversation between me and him that took place on the 15th of March. He called and asked if, I'd like to come up there and live.
He called you?
I called him.
And you want to tell me your version of the conversation?
Just asked him how he was doing, We hadn't spoke, that much beforehand. And then when I did get on the phone with him, he, asked me if I'd like to come to Alaska. I told him I'd like to. Hadn't seen none of my family for 5 years before that. Then we got on a discussion about, being able to afford it. And I told him from day one that I was not able to afford it. And that, it would be at least November or maybe around Christmas before I could afford it. And he said, don't worry, I got everything taken care of. I'll send you the money to get up here. Come on up here, help me take care of Mom.
Let's go back for a second.
Yes, ma'am.
How much money did your brother send you?
He sent me the credit card.
He sent you a credit card?
I sent him 2, Your Honor.
2 credit cards.
Put them in the mail right away?
Yes, we got them in the mail. Once I got them in the mail, I made the charges that...
What did you make the charges for?
Well, the things to pay off my lights, cable, phone, a few other things. I rented the U-Haul, and then, in turn, we got on the road. Now, in Washington, the credit card...
No, listen carefully to what he's saying.
I am
if you're looking through... Scully, don't do that. You're looking through papers, you can't listen.
Okay.
Go ahead.
And in Washington, when we got there, he sent me $500 cash for us to be able to get through the border.
Your Honor.
Just a second.
Okay.
What do you mean from there he sent you $500 cash? You must have said to him, I don't have any money.
Well, we couldn't use the credit card to get through there. We needed to have $500 in cash to get through the Canadian border. That's a requirement. You have to show them at least $500 cash, credit cards, traveler's checks, whatever else you got, but you got to have $500 cash.
Now, did you travel with your wife?
Yes.
And what kind of work had she been doing in Mississippi?
Same as she's doing right now, child care provider. She works with children.
And you have no children?
No, ma'am.
All right, so you've got a job for 4 years. She's got a job. Shh. Where was all your money going?
He's paying the bills. What? I mean,
No. 2 adults working, 2 incomes, no children. Where was all your money going?
Bills.
What kind of bills?
A $300 car note, a $300 a month insurance, rent, stuff like that. I mean, it's not that we didn't have the money. It was still, I didn't have the money at that time when we was discussing to leave to be able to just up and go.
Okay. So you get to Alaska. He wired you cash because you couldn't get over the border without the cash. You'd used his credit cards, and you got to Alaska, and what happened?
Well, we get there, and the first thing that happens is his wife doesn't clash with mine. Mine doesn't clash with her. They didn't,
You mean they clash? They don't clash. They clash.
Right. They
don't get
heads.
along.
Right. And that continued on for a little while after that, and then shortly it caused problems between me and him. It got to the point to where we would just come in and go straight to the bedroom. We wouldn't come out. We just, had our TV, everything in there. We might see them to eat dinner or in the morning time.
Okay.
That was it.
So the girls didn't get along. So what happened?
Well, after that, next thing I know, he's I want my money back that, that I loaned you, this, that, and the other, which it was never a loan. He never said before I left, Billy, you're going to pay me this back or whatever. So then when I get up there, I'm being hassled at to get this money back that supposedly he loaned me. The wives are not getting along together. Now he wants to move out. And then he told me in the middle of October of 2001 that him and Heidi were going to move and that we would be, stuck in the apartment. If we wanted to keep it, cool. If we didn't, oh well.
2 of you decided to stay in the apartment. How long did you stay there, just the 2 of you?
3 months after they left.
And what about work?
Well, we had jobs at least about 2 months after we got there, both of us.
So for the 2 months before you got a job, your brother was supporting you?
Yes, ma'am.
For the entire time?
Yes,
He was
ma'am.
providing for the rent and the food and everything?
But he knew that before we left, ma'am.
What did he know?
Well, he knew that we would be in a situation that we just got it up there. Of course, we'd have to get a job. And
doesn't take 2 months to get a job.
Exactly.
Just a minute, it doesn't take 2 months to get a job.
I got the first available job that I could, ma'am. So did she.
And that took 2 months?
I'm guessing that it took 2 months, ma'am. It was shortly after there.
You mean there were no jobs whatsoever that you could get in Alaska?
Actually, when I
thought
first got
Alaska
there,
was a place where you could go to get jobs. They're always looking for people up there in Alaska, so you couldn't find anything.
well, I found the first available job that I could, ma'am.
Baloney. Don't be a fast talker with me. You mean you went to all the supermarkets and asked if you could deliver groceries or bag groceries or do maintenance work?
No, the first job I got, ma'am, was at Want TV, which is a cable installation job. And I only had that for a couple days because Sprint, they went ahead and downsized right
I'm
after.
talking about any kind of work.
Well, I'm telling you, that was the first job I got. Then
That was the
after
first
one,
job that you got that you wanted.
Okay.
Anyway, okay. Now, see, I got his version. I'm going to hear your version. So, March 15th.
It's sort of way before that. My brother moved out of Alaska when I was 11, 12.
I'm not interested.
Well, what I'm saying is
I'm not interested. When he moved out, how old you were, that you wanted to rekindle a relationship with him, that you have a mother who's got problems. March 15th.
Okay, March 15th, he wanted to come to Alaska to be around family. We have 2 younger siblings, me, my wife, our mom, all in Alaska. He told me he wanted to come up, but it was going to be a couple months before
I want you to look square in my eyes when you're testifying. Do you understand? Go
He
ahead.
said it was going to be a couple months before he could afford to come up. And I said, well, if you want to come up, I have these 2 new credit cards. I said, I can send those to you. You can come up. My wife and I will get an apartment. You guys can stay with us, get on your feet, get 2 jobs when you get up here, and you can pay me back over the course of time. That way he didn't have to try to save all the money. He can come up, see the family. My mom's situation was getting worse. I was getting frustrated with it. And I wanted my brother.
Mother has a drinking problem?
She has a drug problem.
Okay, go ahead.
So I wanted my brother up there for my support. He wanted to come up. Our sister was excited about him coming up, so I said, just come up. You can pay me back, you know, from your second income from your second job. And sent him out the credit cards. And then I wired him $500.
Which we have a receipt for.
He acknowledges that.
Okay. So wired that to him. He gets up there about a week later. And he gets one job. He loses it because of his attitude. Same problem in Mississippi. He had his job for 4 years. That's off and on. He kept losing it for his attitude. He'd get in a fight with a coworker. The guy would fire him, hire him back the next week or whatever. So the same thing happened in Alaska. He'd get a job. You know, he told me before he came up he'd get a second job. So I was trying to get him into getting a second job, but he'd work one job and he'd come home and
He even got a second job. So
You did?
Yes,
I did.
My husband
I've
got a
worked
second
2
job.
jobs since April of 2001 to try to pay this all off.
What was your second job?
Restaurant.
But what did you do there?
Oh, I was a busser.
A busboy?
Yes.
And what was your first job?
Well, at the time that he first came up there, I worked as an oil changer at a Penske.
Penske.
Okay. And what are you doing now?
I work in the restaurant still. I work in a restaurant, and I hold a magazine distribution job.
What kind of work do you do?
I work as a receptionist in a veterinary hospital.
Wasn't hard to get that second job, was it?
No, in fact, I got him the second job, and he quit after 2 weeks because he said he wasn't making enough money.
Better make no money than a little bit of money, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's sort of foolish to work if you're not making a lot of money, when you could stay home and make no money.
Yeah.
That's foolish.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
That was my idea.
Sort of foolish to
And
just make a
about-
little bit of money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's
about-
right. Why would you argue with that? You know, a man of his talents. Let me see your credit card.
Well, I don't have my statements. The credit card went bankrupt. I have the letter from the FDIC showing that the credit card's bankrupt.
You're not blaming that on your brother, are you?
No, they just went under because of whatever reason.
Because
And-
nobody was paying their bills. Okay. 1850 is what I have. If there is no dispute that it was
Oh, I
1850.
don't dispute the charges that were put on there, ma'am. I just
Okay.
dispute that it was not a loan.
Okay, so now I have to make a decision. So my decision is very, very easy. I wish they were all this easy. Common sense suggests that your brother said to you, listen, if you want to come up right away, I can help you out. I'll send you the credit cards that I have. They have 0 balances on them. Not to worry, when you come up here, it'll be easy for you to get a job. It'll be easy for your fiancé to get a job. You'll get a second job if you can, and you can help pay off these bills. You don't have to do it right away, and you don't have to wait until December when they're all paid off. Just come on up. And you said okay. But you didn't want to take just any job. You wanted it to be just the right job, with just the right kind of boss who understood you. That's ridiculous. Then you don't borrow money from people. So, you're back in Mississippi now?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. You're still in Alaska?
Yes, ma'am.
How's your mother?
She's better.
Better.
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,850. That's all.
हेलो दोस्तों, ये कछुआ है और मछली है। इनमें हम कलर करेंगे, तो देखिएगा हम कलर कैसे करते हैं। वीडियो पसंद है लाइक करें, शेयर करें, कमेंट करें। सबसे पहले हम डार्क ग्रीन कलर करेंगे। अब हम कत्थई कलर करते हैं। और हम रेड कलर करते हैं। अब हम येलो कलर करते हैं। गाइस, हमारा कलर कंप्लीट हो गया है। आपको कैसा लग रहा है हमें कमेंट करके जरूर बताएं।
Hello guys, in today's video I am going to show you my new bicycle. If you need to buy it, then inbox with me, okay? I will give the number. I have the 3 years old this cycle. I now restore it. It is part 1 of restoration. You can see it is gearable. You can see. You can check the walls and the back, and what the hell, oh yeah, you can also check here from nice. And now we are working. It's a 4-year-old cycle, man. Oh no, it's so smooth working now, and his gear working. You can see I change the gear and the gear works also. Now I don't do it on full. It is too much hard. It not change the gear. Why? 1 minute. It's too much hard. Oh yes, it's now done it. Now we will do again. Oh no. Now it changed. You can see guys, it changed. The gear changed. Wait. Oh yes, now can see. Now I change to get downside, and you see what? It doesn't change. Now it will be changed. See it. Yes, you can see it changed. That what you can see my 3-4-year-old restoration of my cycle is good, working now in 5 to 4 year begins. Also you can see I will upload on YouTube. This is my new cycle bicycle. Also you can see here with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. Bye. Today video you can see the Judge Judy episode. If you are interested for him the Judge Judy episode, do not forget to comment in my comment section और लाइक सब्सक्राइब। तो चलते हैं अपने एपिसोड की तरफ। तो जिस तरह कि आप लोगों गाइस जज जूडी की एपिसोड में देखा है कि हम दिखाते हैं जज जूडी एक बढ़िया एपिसोड है, बहुत आला किस्म का। आप लोग अगर इंटरेस्टेड हो इसमें तो देखना बहुत ज़रूर पसंद करेगा और रिएक्ट करना ना भूलिएगा, रिएक्ट लाइक करना कि हमें सपोर्ट मिल सके। वो सनशाइन लगी यार, क्या सीन है, क्या बोलूँ भाई। हेलो, कोई समझाओ क्या बोलूँ, बताओ क्या कहना चाहते हो। तो इस तरह के गाइस आप लोगों ने देखा जज जूडी एक बहुत अलग एपिसोड है। इसमें हम जज जूडी को डालते हैं, कहाँ डालते हैं, यूट्यूब पे डालते हैं। देखा गाइस आपने, यूट्यूब पे डालते हैं, ऐसा डालते हैं, डालते हैं, डालते हैं, डालते हैं, डालते हैं। मैं आई प्रो किस तरह ही लाई जा रहा हूँ यार। खुद पे सी आ रही देखी, आई प्रो देखी, देखना गाइस ये डालते हैं, डालते हैं। मीम बनाता हूँ इससे, डालते 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 डालते। अरे मीम बन गई यार, भी देखो चेक करो गाइस, मीम बना देती है मैं। सारे हो तो लाइक एंड सब्सक्राइब भी नहीं करते हो, की करते रहते हो यार तो सब पूरा दिन। कुछ तो साड़ी इज्जत करो ना, लाइक ते सब्सक्राइब के बटन ठोक के रखो। मैं तुहानू दस रहा इदां नहीं काम चलना। साढ़े वास्ते मैं 3-3 घंटे की वीडियो अपलोड करना, सारे तुम लाइक ही नहीं करते हो, है केड़ी गल हुई है। व्यूज से वीडियो के सपोर्ट तो दिखाया करो, फिर चैनल सब्सक्राइब भी कितना होना चाहिए, कितना नहीं है, समझ आइए थानू। चैनल को सब्सक्राइब और लाइक कर देना यार भैया अपने। अच्छा जी, हेलो हेलो, क्या बोली जा रहा हूँ यार। हेयर स्टाइल ले आए।